The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Aaron Rodgers made some headlines yesterday with two comments that could directly impact his future with the Jets. Plus, The Athletic is back with another Woody Johnson story. We'll talk about that and much more with Jets reporter Nick Faria in his weekly spot on the show. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
But I'm just saying here, setting the record straight, this show is about positivity and having a good time and yucking it up. I love this show. I do this shit for free.
Yeah.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time with us right here on the channel. If you're new and you have yet to hit the subscribe button, please do so. That helps this channel continue to grow. And a big shout out to everyone who's tuned in over the last year. YouTube sends out their year in review. They send out some analytics to all the channels. And this channel had 5 million viewers over the last year. So I cannot thank everyone enough who takes time to tune in and watch each and every day. If you missed it yesterday, we had a bounty on one of the real a-holes that comes through these parts. His name is Alan. Unfortunately, he wasn't watching the show, but people paid for Alan to be sent to the hole. So I said, okay, done. So Alan, good to see you're in here, but your day is over. So before we bring on today's guest, we simply must do this.
Now look what you've done, Alan. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
That felt good. Paid for by the Asmaniacs. See ya, Alan. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Faria joins us right now. Hello, Nick.
How's everything going, Jake?
Nick, I'm good. I'm not looking as good as you though, man. You look sharp today.
It's a big day today. We'll see if it gets bigger later on, but certainly big stuff happening.
Lot to talk about. We will get to the athletic story, but I want to start with Rodgers from yesterday. Couple comments I want to play that he made during his weekly media availability. This was Aaron Rodgers yesterday on playing next year.
No, I'm going to take some time after the year, unless I get released right away. But I'll still take some time whether or not I want to play. But I'll take some time to get away from it either way.
Rodgers also said, Nick, that he'd be open to adjusting his contract or a pay cut. And perhaps the most important takeaway from the media session yesterday was this exchange between Rodgers and Rich Cimini talking about potentially mentoring a quarterback the Jets would take early in the draft this season.
The Jets came to you and said after the season at some point, we'd love to have you back. We're going to draft a kid pretty high, and we're going to get him in at some point during the season.
During the season?
Yeah, or, if we fell out of contention,
Oh, that's a lot of negatives there, Rich.
Well, I'm thinking of the Cousins situation with Penix. We want you back, but if we fall out of contention, we're going to go with the kid.
Totally. I mean, but there's more to that. I mean, number one, Atlanta's not out of contention, so a lot of the play is about performance. So, I think all of us, whether we got a guy behind us itching to play or not, there's, when they drafted Jordan, I felt like I was one bad stretch from being benched, and I, won MVP a couple years. So that's the way the league is. You got to prove it. You can play every single week and through stretches. So if they asked me back and they drafted a guy, I'd mentor the hell out of him if I was playing, and I'd try and play as well as I could to keep him on the bench.
So that's exactly what you want to hear
Damn good answer.
from Aaron Rodgers. And for anyone who's seen the Netflix doc, they have both Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur featured in there talking about the fact that Rodgers was never asked to mentor Jordan Love, but he went out of his way. He went above and beyond to help Jordan Love, basically poo-pooing the narrative that he's this bad guy or wouldn't do it. Yeah. So, look, I still think there's a lot of factors that go into Aaron potentially being here next year, Nick, but certainly a contract adjustment and being willing to mentor are two things that if you're on the side of bring Rodgers back, what you heard yesterday, that is encouraging if you want Aaron as the Jet quarterback next season.
Well, let's also remember, and again, I know he was just cast among the sodomites, but Alan, I saw one of his first comments today was essentially, I wouldn't trust Aaron Rodgers to mentor any young quarterback. Well, that's clearly wrong because he did exactly that with Jordan Love. And Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are just as good now as when they were with Aaron Rodgers. And that in large part is because of the work that LaFleur has done with that offense, but also with Aaron Rodgers helping him develop and teaching him along the way. So this idea that Rodgers wouldn't be willing to help mentor young quarterbacks, I think is ridiculous. Very clearly it's false. And it shows that the perception of what Aaron Rodgers is not exactly true. And what I mean by that is people are looking at Aaron Rodgers and calling him selfish. People are looking at Aaron Rodgers and saying, oh, he's not this, he's not that. He lied about his vaccination status. He's always about drama. But if you listen to people in the organization, teammates that have played with him, all you hear is how great of a teammate he is, how great of a leader he is. So all this off-field stuff, to me, is just it's just irrelevant. It really is, because what Rodgers has shown through his pay cut, first off with the New York Jets, and now being willing to essentially take another pay cut and mentor a young player, that's the kind of older quarterback you want on your roster. That is exactly the kind of quarterback on your roster. And to be honest, to me, it's a no-brainer. Whoever the new head coach is, whoever the new general manager is, this team is better off in 2025 with Aaron Rodgers as a starter. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks that are going to be made available. They're not going into free agency. And this isn't the quarterback class in 2025 that you want to spend a high draft pick on. So to me, I look and say, well, Rodgers is going to give you the best chance to at least stay successful. If he's taking another pay cut to help the roster moving forward and keep some of this younger talent, then this should be a no-brainer decision.
I just look at it like this. When you assess the other options, you have to be real about what the Jets are potentially looking at, right? Justin Fields, Jacoby Brissett, Tyrod, who's on under contract, Kirk Cousins, who might be washed, Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco. So
best option, yeah. It's Cousins and Daniel Jones. Those are the two, because those are the two that have been to the playoffs and actually have won a playoff game. And I'm sorry, what Kirk Cousins has looked like, what Daniel Jones has looked like, I will take Aaron Rodgers getting hot later this season as he's on this hot streak, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception in the last 7 games. All that considered, he's playing better than we've seen Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones play in recent seasons.
For sure.
This is a no-brainer to me.
And look, ultimately, I have some stipulations if Rodgers is going to be back. Like,
Sure.
the GM and coach have to be on board with that. But if you hired an experienced head coach, like I think Mike Vrabel, for example, or Brian Flores, I think they'd want Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. And I think the Jets drafting someone either in the late first round in a trade back scenario or going out there and taking someone in the second round, that's the right approach, because you don't want to reach on a quarterback. And if you have Rodgers here for another year, you don't have to force that guy to play. So that might end up being their best path. I still want to see what it looks like over the last 3. But I think a lot of people who were anti-Rodgers being the quarterback next year, it was because of the potential dead cap ramifications 2 seasons from now for keeping him for only 1 more year. If he takes a pay cut and you sell Rodgers on, hey, you're taking less to help us bring you back, but then we're going to be able to use that money to pay Devontae Adams, your best friend, I think Rodgers would be open to that. I mean, he has said if he plays next year, his preference would still be the Jets. Now, we got to see who they hire as GM and coach, but you can't tell me if the Jets hire respectable GM and coaching candidates here, that Rodgers wouldn't be open to that. So look, it's still a lot still has to happen. But I think yesterday is a telltale sign that if I was betting who the Jet Week 1 starter is next year, I actually would now say I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
100%. And the other thing is this: Mike Vrabel's the name everyone wants. All I've heard last week, everyone told me I was crazy for saying that Mike Vrabel wasn't the right fit. Okay, you want Vrabel. Vrabel is not going to punt away to essentially push against this idea that they're going to be bad in 2025 to get a higher paid pick in 2026. That's not going to happen. If he's coming to the Jets, he wants to win immediately. Who gives the team the best chance to win right now? It's Aaron Rodgers. And there's few quarterbacks out there that are available that can say that.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching live right now, we're talking with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We will cover the Athletic story that dropped this morning about Woody Johnson in just a bit. Nick only has limited time. He's interviewing for the Jets GM job today. So, we obviously got to, prepare accordingly. Nick Sean with the super chat. You sneaky SOB. I opened the stream and it looked like you had Rodgers on as a guest. Shout out to Gator for an awesome intro.
We're talking about a gift like it. That's exactly what happened. He wasn't talking to Pat McAfee yesterday.
Yeah, he was on the show. Of course, Nick. Come on now. Here's the other thing too, right? You look at these next 3 games, Nick, and if Rodgers plays well, I don't even think it's a debate that he's the guy. The one thing I don't want to do, though, is completely, forget that he looked poor against Seattle coming off the bye when he was supposedly healthy. Now, he's played really well the last 2 games, but they've been in perfect conditions, right? 70 degrees in Florida. I want to see what it looks like now when it's 15 degrees on Sunday at MetLife against a Rams team that, while their defense is not great, they need the game. It's a big game for them. I want to see what it looks like against the Bills and that last week against Miami again. I'm pro Rodgers coming back, especially if he's willing to adjust the contract, like you said yesterday, and be a mentor to a potential young quarterback. I'm open to all that. I just want to see what it looks like over these final 3 to make sure it's not necessarily fool's gold what we've seen these last 2 games.
Well, I think the other piece to it, I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't, because I still think even if he plays poorly down the stretch in the last 3 games, I still think the best opportunity for the Jets is to bring him back, because Tyrod Taylor, Jet fans say, oh, Taylor can mentor a quarterback just as well. He did that with Justin Herbert. He's done that with a lot of young quarterbacks. But what people forget is if you're mentoring a young quarterback, you don't want to just throw him in at the beginning of September and throw him out there into the fire. If Tyrod Taylor's your quarterback, there's a very good chance that can happen. This isn't discrediting him, but at the very least, we have to acknowledge that the injury concerns Tyrod Taylor has over the last decade show that he's not going to be healthy enough to play 3, 4, 5 straight games. And if that's the case, you are forcing a rookie in maybe when he's not ready. Rodgers, at the very least, he's played every game this season, albeit he hasn't been fully healthy. But I think part of that is because he overcompensated a little bit due to his recovery from an Achilles injury. It takes time for these injuries to get back to 100% and to gain full trust in what you do with your lower body injury. So ultimately, I think even if he plays poorly, it makes sense for the Jets to bring him back, because the options around him, whether it be a veteran pickup, whether it be a young rookie, got to be honest, it's still the best bet.
John writes in, Nick Faria looks good, feel good, takes bad. Nick, your thoughts?
I would love to know what take here is bad. I'd love to know his thoughts on what take is bad. Do you honestly want Tyrod Taylor to be your starter? This isn't a deep quarterback class. Are you willing to trade multiple first-round picks to get Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward? Let's be honest about this. What would you prefer for your starting quarterback in 2025?
Ladies and gentlemen, YouTube, for those who missed the announcement yesterday, they have a new feature where you could set goals for Super Chats, and it lets you basically come up with a goal with a reward at the end. So, for instance, yesterday it was if we got 10 teal or higher Super Chats, we would send Alan to the hole. Today, I'm in the giving mood. If we get 10 light blue Super Chats over the next 58 minutes and 40 seconds, Alan stays in the hole for another day. So we're off and running here, baby. Bounty Gate all month long. Isted says, do it. Eistead says, do it. We're up to 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, it could be another Allen-free day if the Asmaniacs decide to do exactly that. So I'd like to throw that out there as well. Oh, yeah. By the way, I see Nate wrote Jake is very specific about his colors. That's what YouTube says. I'll just call it blue or green super chats. All right. But that's YouTube is very specific. They say it's called teal. It's called
I can't tell. I'm colorblind.
Light blue. Yeah. Well, there you go. All right, I would like to throw that out. Plus, for those who missed it, we did our giveaways yesterday. The raffle for the surfboard, the Super Bowl III photo, that happened yesterday. Our next giveaways include a assortment of New York Jets trading cards, including a special Joe Namath one that should be arriving today that I could showcase. But we have the assortment of Jet trading cards here that feature Rodgers, John Riggin, C.J. Mosley, Kevin Mawai, you name it, we got it. They're all in mint condition. So if you're a card collector, you'll certainly like that. Plus, the other prize we're doing is a $50 gift card to Copper John. So for every membership gifted or every $20 super chat or more, you get yourself a raffle ticket that goes into the bucket of champions, and we'll pick some winners once we get 100 memberships that are gifted. All right, we've set the scene. Now it's time to talk about this athletic story. Nick, your initial reaction to what was reported in the latest story from the same outlet that has written now 3 total stories highlighting Woody and the quote-unquote dysfunction of the Jets.
All right, so this is going to be long-winded, so stay with me here. First off, we have to remember always that when reports come out like this, there is always a semblance of who they spoke to, who a particular story is about. And in this instance, who has the most to gain for some of these stories to come out. So that's always something that's got to be in the back of everyone's heads. I'm seeing on Twitter, that's what a lot of Jet fans are looking at. So I applaud most of you guys for understanding that. The second part of this is just because something was said doesn't necessarily mean that it's true or not. There can be multiple avenues to a story. Look at, I think a perfect example is the part of the report today that came out and said that Woody Johnson, when he suggested Aaron Rodgers be benched after the Denver game, it was actually in a joking manner. That's the third different thing we've heard in regards to relation to that story. That's the third iteration of this story. First off, it was, well, he suggested it. Everyone was stunned, and everyone was like, wow, he's actually serious. I can't believe that. Then there was the second part where it was after this. It was after this. It was actually because of his injury. It wasn't because of poor play. It was because of the injury. Now it was actually made in a joke. When you have 3 different iterations of the same story, what that usually tells you is, well, wait a minute. Something's not right here. Something doesn't add up. So it is right to question some certain things. And I do have a source inside the organization. I'm waiting to hear from more before I put it out officially in the story myself. But one person there said that the stories were misleading. Some of the words used, I'm trying to get it out here as well. But conflicting messages was another phrase that was used. So I'm not going to sit here and question people's reporting. The Athletic does a good job. Never going to question, people like that. But at the very least, it sounds like there are more to these reports than anything else.
The issues I have with the story, couple things. The first aspect of the story that I push back on, it says, Woody uses Madden ratings, and that's why the Jerry Jeudy thing didn't happen. Okay, if I'm going to take that at face value, fine.
I woke up this morning and I saw that. I was like, what? But
the thing that I don't seemingly understand is it also mentions John Simpson in the story, how Woody brought up his low awareness rating in Madden as a knock on Simpson, why he didn't want the signing to happen. But guess what? They still signed him. So you can't say Woody meddles and stops moves on one hand, but then he pushes back on another move and it happens. And notice they highlight Simpson because it's been a good signing. He's been really good, but then it doesn't bring up any of the other moves that this front office has made that Woody is obviously allowed that have failed. It only focuses on that. It also basically just reads like it's coming from Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, Rex Hogan, Mike
They
LaFleur.
did mention former people within the
Yeah,
organization.
it's coming from people who got fired and are trying to essentially justify why they were fired. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not sitting here trying to say Woody's been a good owner. He hasn't because the team hasn't won. But I just feel like these articles are basically trying to like say like, oh, no one could win because of Woody, and it like conveniently leaves out that some of the stuff in there doesn't add up. Like, for instance, you already brought up the alleged meeting after the Denver game. Diana has changed the version of what happened there 3 different times. So it's like what's true, what's not true. I mean, at first it's Woody wanted to bench Rodgers for performance, and then on her podcast she says, oh well, Woody wanted to bench Rodgers because he wasn't healthy. And then in the article today, Woody's making a joke and he wanted to see the people in the meeting, their reaction to it. So it's like, I don't know, man. No one's saying Woody Johnson's a good owner, but like if your biggest gripe is that he meddles and whatnot, like that doesn't justify the previous 5 years where we didn't hear a peep about this. Like Woody Johnson wasn't telling Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan, hey, you got to draft Zach Wilson. Like ultimately, Joe Douglas was 30-64. He got fired. He didn't win enough. Like I'm sorry, I don't really want to hear it.
And well, again, and I'm going to preface, I am doing some more work on this, trying to get to the bottom of some of these stories. And to reiterate, the phrase that I've heard from people within the organization are misleading, lacking context, those kind of things. So again, I'm going to be doing more work on that to see what exactly what stories are true and which ones require a little bit of more information, a little bit more context to it. The other thing that I'll mention, and I think this is very important as well, the NFL Players Association comes out with a report card for every organization. It comes out at the end of every year, and it essentially takes in players anonymously talking about the things that the organizations do well and things that the team could improve on. And one part of the story was about Woody Johnson bringing his family into the locker room. They're telling a player, I believe it was Mike White, that he stinks and he should be throwing his helmet around, and he had to apologize. I think it's fair to point out that, and again, this is based on the 2024 report card, ownership was at a B- this past year. That's not necessarily a bad grade. I know it's 20th out of 32. It's not the greatest grade in the world. And compared to some owner grades where they were at an A, it looks bad. But if you're having an owner that is coming in and essentially going up to players and criticizing them, or having their children go up to players and criticize them, wouldn't you think that player association grade would be a lot lower, in my opinion?
Do you have the Chiefs grade on that? Because wasn't that the whole thing? It's like the Chiefs.
It's an F. They were an F.
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
and for them, it was about facilities and everything else. And there are different reasons for each grade. So, potentially, maybe that's one of the reasons why Woody doesn't have an A. Because the facilities at the Jets, I've been there, they actually look really nice. I actually really like that facility. They do a great job with everything there. Clearly, they're focused on the players. But I look at some of these things, and some of it is really out there. I mean, out there. To sit here and say and to report that an organization is making roster decisions based on Madden ratings, that is something I have never heard of before in my life, and I've been watching football for 27 years.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, even if that is true, it doesn't make sense because they use the Jerry Jeudy example as why the trade didn't happen.
Well,
but then Woody brings up, but then Woody brings up John Simpson's alleged awareness grade in Madden as a reason to not sign him, but they still signed him. So if he's meddling, he's meddling. But there's a difference between meddling and like and questioning a move. Like, he has every right as an owner to say, why are we signing this guy? Now, referencing Madden is stupid, but if you're going to say he meddles and is not letting you do your job, that's objectively not true, because in the same article, they still signed the player. And and they want to highlight that it's been a good signing, but then they make no mention of all the other garbage signings this front office has made. Like, come on, man. And also, you know what really bothered me too? The article takes a shot at Jet X Factor when it's like, Woody reads too much of what people think, including something called Jet's X Factor, as if Jet's X Factor is not credentialed.
I love Sabo. If they're listening to him, I mean, he's got a lot of smart takes here, man.
and also, like, the idea that that's some sort of knock that Woody is, caring about his team and reading articles from Jet's X Factor. By the way, if Joe Douglas listened to Jets X Factor, you know what would have happened last year? A legit backup quarterback would have been signed after 4 plays. And I can promise you, if they listened to anyone at Jets X Factor, you know what would have happened this year? Greg Zuerlein would have been replaced before he sunk the Jets season. So we could sit here and act like, oh, Joe Douglas never had a chance because Woody Johnson was so involved and all this. But it's like this article just reads like guys who got fired and are trying to basically do the PR spin why they didn't win. And it's like, I'm sorry, man. No one's saying Woody Johnson's this great owner. Kill him for firing Saleh 5 games in. If that was all he was going to get, everyone should have been fired at the end of last year. That was a colossal mistake. But I'm just so tired of yet another story trying to basically cover for why this team didn't win under Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. They weren't good enough at their jobs. That's the bottom line. They didn't win enough. It's not Woody Johnson as the reason why they didn't win enough. Ultimately, they failed, and this article is like trying to explain why they failed, but it's leaving out so much context of what happened the last 6 years.
Yeah, two points to that as well. First off, with the Jerry Jeudy thing, we've heard different reasons of why Woody Johnson has nixed this trade, but has anyone really thought to say the exact reason? And I got to be honest, I look at, even if Woody Johnson nixed the trade, and again, I'm trying to get more information on that, it sounds like he nixed the trade because he didn't want to make a long-term commitment for anyone that this organization brought in. Anyone Joe Douglas brought in this offseason did not get multi-year deals. They got 1 to 2 year deals, and that's how they brought in Mike Williams and Tyron Smith and all these other guys. Worked out for John Simpson, but if you were trading for Jerry Jeudy, you would have to give him a long-term extension like the Cleveland Browns did. And if that is the reason, what it shows is Woody Johnson didn't trust the general manager and the head coach. He was not going to extend the general manager or the head coach until they made the playoffs this season. They ended up not doing it. Both are now out of a job. And to Woody's case, again, this is my speculation. This is not based on a report, but nixing a trade for Jeudy or not giving a long-term extension to Hassan Reddick tells me that he didn't trust any major decision that was going to be made by this executive team because he didn't know if it would work. Clearly, I think there was a lack of trust from the ownership to the people that he had hired, or actually did not hire, but that were in the positions to make roster decisions. So in the Jeudy case, to me, it's not about Madden. What it is he didn't want to give a long-term extension, which makes a lot of sense and kind of fits into the idea of why did he only fire Robert Saleh after 5 weeks? They were only 2 and 3. Well, he clearly didn't trust him.
Right.
Why did he take away power from Joe Douglas? He didn't trust him.
That's the mistake he made. The mistake is not like, you know what I mean? Like if you want to blame Woody for anything, it's he lost faith in his guys. Then he should have just fired them at the end of last year. That was the mistake.
And the other piece of this, so that's the first thing with Jeudy. The other piece to this that I think people need to remember is none of this is going to matter. Like objectively, none of this is going to matter. Because when the Houston Texans, before they hired D'Amico Ryans and drafted CJ Stroud, you are getting stories like this weekly. Weekly.
Remember, Cal McNair was a racist because he fired 2 black coaches in back-to-back years. Then he hires D'Amico Ryans, who's black, oh, by the way, and now you don't hear a word about that.
Because they're winning.
Winning. Right. And
it's all about the new hires. And listen, if they hire Mike Vrabel, let's say, again, this fan base wants Vrabel.
We know you don't. Mike Vrabel is the worst coach ever, according to Nick Faria.
That is never what I said. Let's be honest about this. But let's say, for all intents and purposes, they hire Vrabel. Do we still hear these comments? Of course not, because it's a new regime. Most of the time, when old regimes are going out the door, they want to get their perspective on what happened. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles when they fired Doug Peterson. There were leaks galore every other week. Carson Wentz was blaming Doug. Doug was blaming Carson Wentz.
Damage control. That's all these articles are. Damage control.
And what happened? The very next year, Philadelphia was in the playoffs, and you didn't hear a peep of anonymous sources and anonymous reports. It all comes down to just, you have to understand the perspective of certain articles that come out overall. Woody Johnson, he's made plenty of mistakes as an owner. I think he will tell you that. He is not batting 1,000. But at the very least, we can acknowledge that some of these reports, again, based on what I've talked to from people within the organization, there are other things going on there. And if we do just a little bit of digging or just have a different perspective, including the Jerry Jeudy case, because that was the one thing that stuck out to me more than anything, why would the team nix the Jeudy trade? Would it be because of Madden, or would it be for a financial reason that showed the bigger outlier of the organization? What makes more sense? To me, if we're just talking about the bare perspective of what we're talking about, it's clearly the latter. It is clearly this may have been more a financial decision more than, oh, we're trying to throw everyone under the bus and show how dysfunctional this team is. It's just not going to matter next year. It will not the minute they hire the head coach.
The only concern is, does this maybe scare away candidates? But that's where Woody Johnson has to come in and basically say, I have a track record of not meddling when it comes to guys I believe in and I trust. Like, this is only coming out now because Joe Douglas got fired, so he's talking. Robert Saleh got fired.
I'm not going to sit here and say that the Athletic is only talking to Joe Douglas and everything else. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is perspectives need to be included. And it's not that difficult to look and see who would have the most to gain from an article like this coming out.
Well, this is nothing new. Like, that when people get fired, they hate their boss and they talk crap about their boss. And like, you see this all the time with certain stories. But ultimately, like, Woody Johnson has to get these hires right, because I'll continue to use the example I've used a lot on the show. There is not one Nick fan chanting sell the team at James Dolan anymore. I wonder why. Oh, it's almost like he hired two competent people to run his organization in Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. And now that maybe they're chanting that for the Rangers right now. I can't speak to that. I hope they lose every game, but that's the Islander fan of me talking there. But from a Nick perspective, like, James Dolan didn't magically become this great owner. He finally hired the right people. And the only thing that matters is the Jets hire the right people. They hire Thomas Dimitroff and Mike Vrabel. How could you knock the process there? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes down to. They got to win. They got to win. Woody Johnson didn't say, hey, Joe Douglas, draft Zach Wilson. Hey, Joe Douglas, sign CJ Uzama. Go out there and spend all this money and miss on free agent signing after free agent signing, or whiff on every draft pick that wasn't selected outside of Michael Carter in the top 45. Like, come on, man. Like, read the article and tell me it doesn't directly feel like it's coming from the following four figures who used to be employed by the organization: Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, and Rex Hogan. That's where it's coming from. Let's call it for what it is. You don't have to say it, Nick, because you're actually a reporter. I'm not. I'm a Jet fan who's a talk show host. I'll call it out. It's nonsense. I mean, give me a break. And I don't want to defend Woody Johnson because he's not a good owner until he wins. That's the bottom line. But like, now Patriots fans want Robert Kraft to sell the team, right? They're talking about firing Gerard Mayo after 1 year. Like, you're a good owner when you win. You're a bad owner when you lose. And the Jets are the longest playoff drought in North American sports, so they're never going to get the benefit of the doubt, nor do they deserve it. But ultimately, the only thing I care about is moving forward, hiring the right people, because this season's been cooked forever. So I've accepted it. I'm moving on. That's where I'm at right now as a Jet fan. At this point, like, there's nothing that could come out that is going to make me be like, man, you know, like, it is what it is. Hire the right GM and coach, because even if they never fired Saleh when they did, they were not winning anything of consequence with him anyway.
But that's what I'm saying. None of this is going to matter. In a month, at this time next month, in January, none of this is going to matter unless they haven't hired the head coach yet. Because once you bring in the new people, those people brought in will have Woody Johnson's trust. So they will be allowed to make long-term decisions for the betterment of the franchise in their belief. Woody didn't have that trust in his last two guys. It was evident. It's not to say that, oh, it was because of this and his sons were reading X Factor and they're listening to all the shows and the all 22s. That's not what that's not what the point is.
I wish he did. I really do wish Woody was like, hey, Robbie Sabo and Michael Nania said, you got to sign a real backup quarterback. Because guess what? They would have been in the playoffs last year if he actually listened to Jets X Factor.
Let's also be honest about this. So if they're listening to Jets X Factor and all these other different things,
they should have listened to this show. Hey, Woody, you should have told Joe Douglas to listen to me screaming since March of last year to sign a legitimate quarterback that you should not go into the goddamn season with Zach Wilson as the only line of defense if, God forbid, something happened to Aaron Rodgers. So I'm sick of these losers justifying how bad it has been. Stop blaming everyone else. Win football games, all right? Cut Greg Zuerlein when it was obvious this year, Joe Douglas. He was shot. Maybe we'd still have a season. I'm so sick of the excuse making. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore.
I would hypothesize that you're getting at least one more report like this. You're going to get one more report, something similar, and it's going to be right before they hire a coach, and then that's it. But if they hire Vrabel, if they hire Ben Johnson, if they bring in Todd Monken, all this other stuff, it all goes away because clearly there was a lack of trust. Now, you don't even need to get a report from The Athletic or hear from Rich Cimini and all these other guys. Look at your eyes. The Jets didn't make a long-term free agent signing this past offseason. Why didn't they do it? Because it seems like, and it was very clear that the team was not going to give a long-term contract to players that they felt were not going to be on the team next year if this thing blew up like it did. It's logic. It's right there. You don't need Madden. You don't need a Jets X Factor. The longest contract they gave was for 2 years. For 2 years. That's it. That tells me, objectively, as a football fan, as someone who's watched this game for a very long time, it tells me this was clearly the last ride for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to get it right. And if they won, you would earn the trust back for Woody Johnson. But if you didn't, you'd be out. They didn't win. They're out. Plain and simple.
God, I can't. I saw a great tweet from Joe Caporoso, which, by the way, Woody, listen to Badlands, all right? Connor Rogers and Joe are very nuanced and very smart with their takes. When regimes collapse and get the boot, they leak like a faucet. This happened in late 2014 and late 2018 to a similar extent. Jets have many problems at all levels, like all teams who are consistently losing. Most pragmatic way out in the short term is not botching the GM/head coach hire, letting them make the quarterback decision, and building a more clear wall between business and football operations, aka hire a VP of football ops to do this and staff up analytics, sports medicine, scouting department, media relations, etc.
Well, actually, I'm glad. So I will argue against the football operations perspective because I've made this point before. The football ops guy is the general manager. You do not have someone above him. That is the top guy. Now, that being said, again, he's right, 100%. The GM, the head coach get in, they pick their quarterback, they bring everyone else. One name to keep a look at, though, because he mentioned analytics, is Thomas Dimitroff. He had a great career with the Atlanta Falcons, 13 seasons, rebuilt that team from the absolute bottom dwellers of the NFL. What's he been doing for the last 4 years? He's been working at an analytics firm for the NFL. He's been surrounded by analytics. He clearly has a good draft record because he brought in Matt Ryan, he brought in Julio Jones, he fixed that offensive line in general. But now that he's got the analytical side to him, I think that's an even more intriguing pick overall than any other candidate to this point. At least you stay the hell away from John Robinson. That's my take on that.
Thomas Dimitroff, so far my favorite candidate they've spoken to.
Not a bad one. Not a bad one at all.
But in about 15 minutes, Nick Faria is going to get his opportunity to interview for the gig, and that's why he's dressed up. Nick, I know you got to run. You got a big interview with Woody, so I appreciate you hopping on as always.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Faria joining us to talk about the Jets and talk about his candidacy for the next GM. Ladies and gentlemen, we're presented today by SeatGeek. If you want to go to the Jets-Rams, promo code Jake Asman, $20 off your first purchase. You could use it on anything, though. Any single event you see on SeatGeek, concerts, basketball, hockey, although the way the Rangers and Islanders are playing, maybe you save it. But if you want to go to any concert, stand-up comedy, performance, whatever, anything on SeatGeek, promo code Jake Asman, use the promo code, and you will save $20 with your first purchase. All right, comments, questions, super chats, we'll cut the line. Ladies and gentlemen, we've officially reached the money needed to bury Allen for another day in the hole. Now, let me explain the caveat. The whole sentence is per show, so I'm just going to, move it forward to the afternoon stream. All right. Or if I don't end up doing a show this afternoon, tomorrow. But either way, it's another Allen free zone. Thank you to the Asmaniacs. Well done. Just like that. Incredible. Fiore became a channel member. Fiore, thank you. That's one raffle ticket for you that's coming your way. Friend of Bill, Jake, the BMAX show will come to an end. Friend of Bill, you claim to have all this money and your first super chat's only $2? I don't know, man. I got to see more proof that you actually have money. You were offering $1,200 yesterday to ban BMAC. And this is your first ever super chat you've ever sent. So, I don't know, man. I'm seeing I'm not feeling it right now. Rick Kent says Diana is a fiction writer. I mean, she certainly has had a lot of time to write about the Jets the last 2 years. This is what, the 5th major athletic story? The Zach Wilson one last year, the Salo one at the end of last season, and now 3 this year focused on Woody. Fiore with a super chat. Thank you, Fiore. How much do you think the athletic article hurts recruiting someone like Mike Vrabel? Look, I think ultimately if you want Mike Vrabel, you got to put in writing, hey, you have full control. Or you got to pay him a crap load of money, which has never been a problem. I mean, Bill Belichick called and was interested in the job. So he's the number one Woody hater ever. I think the Jets is an attractive job. Pays great. It's generational money. And it's one of 32. And you could argue the Jet opening has more talent than most of the other openings, if not all of them, depending on how you feel about, I guess, the Bears job. Or I don't even know if the Cowboy job is opening up, by the way. Everyone assumes McCarthy's gone. Why? They've been playing well of late. They've had a ton of injuries. I think the Dak injury maybe saves McCarthy because they've won some games with Cooper Rush. Jerry, for whatever reason, seems to love Mike McCarthy. Are we sure Dallas is definitely opening up? I'm just saying. Tyrone, I want you to know something, Tyrone. Your surfboard was sent out this morning to California. Congrats again on winning it. The Athletic is full of crap. I say go Jets. Look, to me, it just doesn't matter. The story is coming from Joe Douglas, Rex Hogan, Robert Saleh, and Mike LaFleur. Now you know where the sources are, folks. Nick can't say that. He's on the beat. I mean, you want to get someone to say something bad about their boss, speak to them after they just got fired. In all walks of life, not just football. 25, the Athletic and Zach Wilson got something in common. What's that, 25? Eiston, bro, at this point, Nick just sounds like white noise. I love Nick. He looked handsome today. I just think his take about Tomlin and Vrabel last week was insane. Jesus Jerry writes in, full wins are not a better option. I thought he looked good, Jesus, but you know, that's for you to weigh in on. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bonesy says Joe Douglas is a king. All right, we're going to put a bounty on my guy Bonesy. Not to put him in the hole, but to send him to the shadow realm. All right? I can't. He needs to be held accountable for his nonsensical love of Joe Douglas. He didn't win, Bones. He didn't win. All right? And I hate to do this, but Bonesy to the shadow realm for 30 minutes. I think that's a fair punishment. Maybe we'll hold him accountable here. All right? We'll see if people are sick of the Bonesy Joe Douglas truthing. I'm going to totally abuse this bounty feature YouTube added. This is absolutely hilarious that this is now a thing on YouTube. So Bonesy, look, your own brother says put him in the realm. All right, 30 minutes in the realm. YouTube gives me new options, by the way. It's 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 24 hours, and banned for life. So I think 30 minutes is fair. All right, to hold this Joe Douglas truther available. If we get 10 light blue super chats, we will send Bonesy to the realm for 30 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, the bounty has been placed. 25 says they both stink. That is what Zach Wilson and the Athletic have in common. 25, thank you for the super chat. It does go to the Bonesy Bounty Fund, I believe. Concrete with another raffle ticket entry. Let's go. 25 with a super chat here. I'll start it off. JD, lovers need a little timeout. I mean, you can't read this story and think, man, Joe Douglas is such an excuse maker. I'm sorry. Oh, you know, would he push back on the John Simpson signing? Well, you still signed him, Joe. You still signed him. So which is it? And also, are we going to act like trading for Jerry Jeudy would have been a good move? I think it was Alan Lazard and like a day 2 pick was like the proposal. I'm good. Jesus Jerry, Bonesy's best dress, no realm. Well, unfortunately, Jesus Jerry, your $2 super chat here only added to the Bonesy Bounty Fund. We're up to 3. We only need 7 more. Dark Knight Steve, love you, Bonesy, but sorry. It's not looking good for Bones, man. It's really not. Let's get to some of your calls now. Gusbuster Hotline is open. Let's say hello to Bijan, who's first up today. What's up, Bijan?
Hey, Jake. How's it going?
I'm good, Bijan. How are you?
I'm good. So I don't necessarily believe everything in The Athletic, but I had sent an email a little while ago, and the format was completely messed up. But I took a look at like amount of personnel that were in. Let me read off the 5 organizations here: Jets, Steelers, Ravens, Lions, Panthers, just to get like a decent sample size. And I know we're not going to take everything in this Athletic article, 100% seriously. I know Diana has changed her story quite a few times, but I think there's some overlying threads here that, I think paint a picture, for me at least, where the Jets do like to spend money on players. But I personally, just based on seeing some of this stuff, am a little bit concerned with Woody Johnson not spending the proper amount on infrastructure within the organization. So, I'll give you some numbers here. Between all those 5 teams, the Jets have, and this is just me counting, so maybe I'm off here, but the lowest amount of front office personnel, they only have 21, and coaching staff, they only have 23. To give you an example, Steelers have about 27 front office personnel, 26 coaches. The Ravens by far had the most. They had 35 front office personnel and 40 coaches. The Lions and Ravens have culture and inclusion staffs, and the Panthers have at least like 1 culture and inclusion guy. Jets don't have any of that. And the Lions and Ravens are super big into analytics. They have huge analytics departments. Jets don't have anybody, as far as I can tell, that have, or very small analytics department. Steelers don't have an analytics department at all, apparently. They're very old school. The reason I say all that is just reading some of the stuff about, maybe the stuff about Madden ratings are exaggerated, but that kind of speaks to, I think Woody sort of shortchanges some of these bigger investments, like maybe using a Madden rating instead of having an analytics department that says, okay, John Simpson is a good signing. Here's how we can tell. The thing about not hiring training camp referees, and that's probably led to a lot of the penalty issues, in addition to Robert Saleh not holding people accountable.
What were the issues last year when they had training? It just reads like a bunch of guys making excuses for why they sucked at their jobs. I'm sorry. I'm not sitting here saying Woody's a good owner. He fucked up royally firing Saleh 5 games in if he was only going to get 5 games. We all understand that. But I'm not reading this story and thinking anything other. Hey, here's Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, and Rex Hogan, all guys who got fired, trying to blame Woody for why they got fired, when in reality, they didn't win enough. They were not good enough at their jobs.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's some of that, they didn't do a good enough job. At the end of the day, Joe Douglas drafted
2/3 of his games at the end of the day. Woody Johnson didn't say draft Zach Wilson or take Mekhi Becton over Tristan Wirfs or take Elijah Moore or go out there and not hit on any pick besides Michael Carter beyond the top 45. That's what I'm talking about.
He picked good players, but he missed on the big thing. He missed the coach.
Yeah.
He missed the quarterback. You can't do that.
Thomas Dimitrov told me on this very show last year, and it stuck with me. As a GM, you're judged on the big moves you make. And every big move Joe Douglas made didn't just suck. In the case of Zach Wilson, were historically bad moves. All right. Hiring Saleh was a bad hire. Drafting Zach Wilson was horrific. Everything that has happened with the major moves, right? His first ever draft pick is a franchise left tackle. He takes the wrong guy. He takes Mekhi Becton. And because they couldn't figure out left tackle, it led them down the path where, they're having to take Olu instead of maybe take Brock. But if they hit on Becton, you wouldn't need Olu in the first. All these moves have a chain reaction type of effect. Ultimately, he didn't hit on his big moves. Like, we can give him credit for the Jamal Adams trade, right? That's a great move, but he didn't make enough of the moves you got to get right if you're going to be a successful GM.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I just wish, I wonder, and I've said these things in like super chats. I do wish there was a way to track, and maybe the owners wouldn't like this because they would start to be held accountable. But I wish there was a way to track like how much owners are actually putting into their team in terms of investments of the infrastructure. I wish there was a way to track that, because I think that would very clear. I would see the correlation between like maybe the teams that are putting the most amount of investment, like I would assume the Ravens, that leads to, a more successful product. And the teams that are shortchanging that, potentially, like, I'm not saying that the Jets are one of the lowest, but they seem to be. Is that part of the issue with the whole culture, infrastructure, all those kinds of things? Because like, one of the things in the article saying, they're using consulting firms from Johnson & Johnson instead of to like influence some of what's going on in the building, instead of hiring a VP of operations like a Don Aponte. And that's where everything leads to. It starts with Don Aponte. Woody's not going to make some sort of sporadic decision.
Well, they got to hire the right Bijan. They got to hire the right general manager and head coach. That's all it comes down to. The Texans were a dysfunctional mess. 3 coaches in 3 years. But then they hired the right coach, and then they've started winning games. So you're 100% right. I like the process they're going about to try and hire these people, but now you got to hire the right people. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Hennessy Heisman super chats, but he drafted Garrett and Sauce, Bonesy. Eiston writes in, Israel Abonaconda, Ja'Kai Polite, Denzel. I forgot about Ja'Kai Polite. Great third-round pick. Was that Douglas, though? Ja'Kai Polite, I might have been McCagnon. I don't think you could put that on him. Denzel Mims, Mekhi Becton, Zach Wilson, no to JD. Look, it feels like Bonesy's about to walk the plank if we get 5 more super chats. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will give Bonesy a chance to avoid the plank walk because Mr. Bonesy has called in. Hit it.
The only thing better than all them shoes is Joey D, cause he totally rules. Jake, my brother, I'm high as a kite. I love everybody. Damn, this show is crazy.
Are we still talking about Joe Douglas?
Jake, my brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, the #1 Joe Douglas fan. What did you make of the Athletic story, which was basically, hi, my name is Joe Douglas, and I'm going to make every excuse I can make for why I was 30 and 64.
It was all Salah. It's all Salah leaking that. Salah is the most mad because he got fired after 5 games and didn't get a real chance. Joe Douglas is just upset because all his friends were fired and he just wanted out. I think we this year, obviously, and what's happened with us in the past whole Joe Douglas tenure feels terrible now, but in the future, we'll look back and be like, man, that was the most talent we've ever hit in drafted. I mean, as much as you want to talk about, Becton being a miss, I mean, he's a starter for the Eagles right now, and he's going to be a Pro Bowl guard. Normally, we're used to drafting guys like Ja'Kai Polite. That was a 3rd-round pick. But we're used to drafting guys like D. Milner and Darren Lee and Calvin Pryor, guys that can't even play in the NFL after their career, after they leave the Jets. We don't take 1st-round picks and give them contracts. We've never done that before. Joe Douglas, before the losing started piling up, he was a wizard to me, man. Getting Jamal Adams.
I got you a Christmas present, by the way. I'll stop by Alden's later today to drop it off for you. It's a signed Zach Wilson trading card, right? Joe Douglas's best pick he ever made, just for you. Okay, you could put it up in the man cave.
No, I'm gonna give it to Hawk. Hawk needs that.
Also, hold on. A great point by Bang Mateo. Jake's selling out his best callers for $2 to send them to the realm. Sad. You know what, Bang? You're right. The bounty is off Bonesy. It is instead going to you, Bang Mateo. All right? Let's watch how quickly people despise your nonsense. Bonesy, I love you. Great point by Bang. You're no longer going to be sent to the Shadow Realm. We're instead going to send Bang Mateo the second we hit the number. So thank you, Bang.
Thanks, Bang. Took the bounty off my head, bro. Let's see how funny that. Let's see where this goes now, because I feel like you were getting.
We're gonna start over too. I'm gonna adjust it here. Let me remove the goal here. All right. Let's show how quickly the Asmaniacs will move to get rid of one of the all-time worst Bang Mateo here, Bonesy. All right. I mean, it needs to be this. I'm going to abuse this feature YouTube added here. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. It is fun. It does add a little spice to it. I do like it.
Bang. Because in the past, I would just throw out a random number. Now people can actually contribute all at once, which is hilarious. Bang Mateo to the Shadow Realm for 30 minutes. New goal. We need 10 super chats of $2 or more. Same thing we had for you, Bones. Ladies and gentlemen, a new goal has been set, courtesy of the great Bang Mateo. We will see you later. Maybe Bang.
Rick Ken already. Oh, God.
Rick Ken, bye Bang. I love it. Rick, I don't know if that counted, but I will count it anyway because I think you submitted it before I got it in, but I'm going to send one of my own just so it officially comes through. Hold on.
Here they come.
Here, they're coming in, baby. Bye, Bang, you bum. Hold on. I'm putting in my $2 investment right now. But yes, continue, Bonesy. How are we going to defend Joe Douglas today?
I didn't think I was going to wake up and have to defend Joe Douglas, but if you guys all can't agree that we've never had a GM in 15 years who was as good as he is in the war room during drafts, I mean, the guy can't even sit still. He's trading up. He's trading back. He gives up a day 3 pick. We get a day 2 pick, and we get a 3rd round from Detroit, and we flip it for Devontae. He trades up for Breece Hall right in front to get Breece, and then the Texans have to take Dameon Pierce. Jermaine Johnson, he trades up, he goes and gets his guy. ABT, he goes up and gets his guy. Even though ABT's been hurt, he goes up and gets his guy. Joe Douglas, if you go by starters in the NFL, he's 5 for 7 with his draft picks. And you guys can't tell me there was any other quarterback that draft that you would have rather had. And if you say Justin Fields, sure. You want a guy who can throw for 2,500 and have to run for 1,000, but I mean, come on. Justin Fields, just like last week, I saved that clip. I clipped that show because I want to go back with Fialco and watch it because everybody was attacking me so hard about Rodgers. And we're going to see because we're going to see what happens these next couple of games because the way he's playing.
Rodgers is you should be a Rodgers defender at this point. Just that should be your identity.
But Rodgers is here because of Joe Douglas. Listen, I will eat crow.
He is. Yes, he is. And look, I'm not going to sit here and act like Joe Douglas didn't make any good moves, but he was rightfully fired.
The record is, I get it.
He was rightfully fired. He wasn't the worst GM ever. In fact, he made better moves than the record indicated. But the problem is when you miss on some of the big moves he missed on, that's why the record sucks. You know what I mean? Like he drafted better players than McCagnon did, but McCagnon was able to hit on Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year, and he had a 10-win season. You know what I mean? Like there is some luck involved in it. But you also have to hit on your big moves. That's a huge problem here.
I just think if Woody didn't step in 5 games in and would have let Saleh finish this, even though Saleh's not that good, that stat you've given, I can't stop preaching it. The last 7 games, 5 out of the 7 games, we had a lead with under 1 minute to go. And if we had, that's all that Saleh was good at. We beat the Eagles at the end of the games. Why? Because of Saleh closing it out. Last year against the Denver Broncos, our defense was constantly walking off wins. This year, he can't stop a nosebleed, man. Under 5, you're telling me 5 out of the 7 games we had a lead with under a minute, and we only are 2-5 in those games. I just think that. We look at the record, and the record is what it is. I get it. You have to favor in that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles 4 games in. We have Rodgers for 2 years, and we're all stroking Joe Douglas just like I am. Rodgers doesn't go down. We are all loving Joe Douglas. So a move just like that with an injury flips the script.
Hey, I'll
So
tell
it's
you what,
like
maybe Joe Douglas should have signed a real backup quarterback. He would have made the playoffs, or if he got a real kicker, Bonesy. So can we stop defending Joe Douglas? He wasn't good. He made the same catastrophic mistake 2 days in a row, and there's a guy on hold right now that I think if I don't put him on, he might crash his car. He is so angry, screaming and yelling. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
For the love of God, Bonesy, I love you, bro. I love you. But come on, dude. You got to let it. Joe Douglas sucked. He's inept to be able to get a backup quarterback, to be able to get us a different kicker. And all the moves that he doesn't do in season that has literally cut the Jets' head off over and over and over. I don't see what you see. Like, I understand your love for Rodgers, but Joe Douglas, man, like, come on, dude. Yeah, he made good moves.
Joe Douglas gave me Rodgers. Joe Douglas gave us Rodgers. And
Rodgers
Joe
also
Douglas
wanted to come here. This was Rodgers' place. Whether or not Joe Douglas was here or not, this is where he wanted to go because of the team. It wasn't him.
For the kicking thing, right? Zerline was our best kicker in how long in the past 2 years? We just paid him. So you're telling me the Ravens should cut Tucker, right? The Ravens should cut Tucker. Tucker's the best kicker in the league for how long, right? Listen. Tucker is the best kicker in the league for how long? He is having a terrible season. So the Ravens should cut him, right?
What happened to the quarterback the year before? How come we have 3 bottom-of-the-barrel backups with Zach Wilson and we had to stick him in again? That absolutely destroyed our entire season.
Listen, I agree with you. But Tim Boyle was the backup for 3 years, and it was just him and Rodgers. And so that's why we went in with fucking Wilson, which was terrible, and Boyle as that backup. And it wasn't a great plan, but Rodgers is an Iron Man. It took a fluke injury for that to happen. And if you factor in the fact that Wilson gave us that goddamn Chiefs game that one Monday night that gave everybody hope that he could turn the corner, I guarantee we would have got him in early. But I won't defend Douglas on that because I hated that we didn't have a back. That he didn't bring in.
What happened to our defensive line? Where'd everybody go? What about all our back? We have nothing.
Listen,
he left us dry. He can't do 2 things at once. He couldn't fix the offensive line and keep the defensive line the same. He's not capable of doing both offense and defense and making comparable picks to each other, that we didn't lose our entire defensive line and we get run over the whole. It's just, Bonesy, I get what you're saying about how he made good picks. I'm not defending that. I'm not saying he didn't. He made great picks, but he missed on all the draft picks after the first round. Every single player that he took after the first round.
What do you mean? Breece Hall, Joe Tittman, Michael Carter II, who we just paid, Sherwood, who we're going to pay. Eccles is a solid backup. Look at this year. You're telling me this year you don't like Allen and Isaiah Davis as 2 nice day 3 pick running backs? When they first picked the 2 running backs, we were like, oh my God, he took 2 running backs.
And
they're both solid.
But what happened to our
those are great day 3 picks right there. Like, listen, Joe Douglas is not perfect, but we can't act like he's trash. You can't tell me that Joe Douglas is, because if you compare him to the GMs around the league, go look at all the other teams. Go look at the Panthers, who they're drafting. Go look at teams like
Bonesy. We are 4-10. How are we better? We haven't won any games in 7 years, 6 years. We have not.
Listen, I get the record. The GM can't play the games, man. We've had the lead.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
The holiday spirit. You love it. Bonesy, he hired Robert Saleh. He sucked. He drafted Zach Wilson. He missed on every big move. That's why the team was not good enough. He made some good picks. It was time to move on. And the article today is basically, let me make every excuse why I didn't win. Let me blame Woody and Brick John. It's a bunch of nonsense, man. You only hear this now because he's disgruntled and fired. Same with Rex Hogan, right? Remember, never forget this from everyone who covered the Jets when Rex Hogan got fired. He's so highly respected. He was their source for all this. Let's call it for what it is. He leaked and leaked like a faucet. He's so highly. So this is, look, and I don't blame these guys for being pissed, right? They got fired. I've been fired before. You shit talk your boss. I get it. You're angry. But like, let's remember the sources. Saleh, LaFleur, Douglas, Hogan. These guys didn't win enough. And look, Woody Johnson's not a good owner. We all can acknowledge that. But why did Bill Belichick call about the job if this job is so bad? He would never want to work for Woody. The guy who bashed Woody the most off the record and on the record did it on live TV multiple times this year. That guy called about the job. So I think ultimately, you know what the Jets need to do? Get the GM and coaching hire right. I went through this in Houston, man. Cal McNair's a racist. Oh, how could he fire back-to-back black coaches after 1 year? Then he hires, guess what? Another black coach, DeMeco Ryans. Oh, I don't hear anything about the Texans anymore. James Dolan, sell the team. Sell the team. How's that working out now, Knicks fans? I've been to a lot of Knicks games the last 2 years. I haven't heard that chant anymore. What changed? Oh, they hired Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. Gee. So I don't want to be like a Woody defender. He has done a good job. The way the Saleh thing was handled 5 games in was ridiculous. He should have been fired at the end of last season if he was only going to get 5 games. Let's be clear about that. And I said it at the time, so this is not like revisionist history. I was surprised they fired Saleh when they did. I thought he was at least going to get the Bills game, and then I would understand if at, 2-4 losing to the Bills, maybe it would have been a little different, right? I thought it was premature. And even then, I thought, they have another game in prime time. Are they really going to want to fire Saleh going into a primetime game when all the spotlight would be on you? Whatever, it happened. But the bottom line is this: were they winning with Robert Saleh? No. So they got to get these hires right. All right. And Bones, you got to identify as an Aaron Rodgers guy now. Forget Joe Douglas. He did some good things. Clearly, we talk about how there is talent on this team. I don't want to make Joe Douglas out like he was Mike McCagnon or John Izek. I think even though the record doesn't show it, he was better than those guys. But he missed on too many big things. And the thing that kills me with Douglas is he made the same mistake 2 years in a row. He neglected backup last year when it was obvious they needed to add a quarterback. And he neglected the kicking situation this year when it was obvious Greg Zuerlein lost it. Kickers are like relief pitchers in baseball. Sometimes it's year to year. You can lose it fast. And Justin Tucker is going to get a grace period, Bonesy, because he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest kicker of all time. Greg Zuerlein has been very good, but he had a down year in Dallas when the Jets originally brought him in. Like it happens with kickers. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the audience. The way you all responded to getting rid of Bang Mateo was incredible. He will go to the Shadow Realm for a full 30 minutes. Cincy Matt, 25, Rick Kent, Ralphie, Jimbo, Hennessy, Jay Graves, Jersey Jet. Just incredible. Bang Mateo, thank you for your service. You will go to the realm for a full 30 minutes. That is now 2 bounties that have been placed during this one show alone. Absolutely incredible. We will see you later.
Into the Shadow Realm you go.
That's the problem with Aaron Rodgers. This guy is a cancer that's metastasized throughout the entire building in Florham Park. And I don't know why Jets fans can't see it.
Or, here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the fuck up.
Love it. Thank you to everyone. Bounty Gate. It's happening on this show, baby. More of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Australian Jets fan. Hello, Australian Jets fan.
Hey, man. I'm just going to be quick today. I've just got 2 things. One, I missed the start of the show, so I wasn't sure but if this has already been talked about. But I don't know if...
Let me get my boomerang as I talk to you here.
Bleacher Report put out a post on Instagram saying that Woody vetoed the Jerry Jeudy trade because his Madden rating was too low.
Yes.
That can't be serious, surely.
I don't believe it, and 2, here's why I don't believe it. We did talk about it earlier with Nick Faria as well, so you can check it out. The article says they vetoed the trade because of the Madden rating, right? But then, in the same article, it references how Woody brought up John Simpson having a low awareness rating in Madden, but they still signed John Simpson. So maybe Woody would have some pushback on some moves. I think it's clear he clearly lost faith in his GM and coach based on the actions we've seen from this team. But why I don't believe it is because they still ended up signing a player that the owner apparently had an issue with because of his alleged Madden rating. So there's inconsistencies there. The story about the Rodgers meeting after the Denver game has changed 3 separate times from Diana Rossini in each of these 3 articles or in a podcast she does. I really don't believe a lot that's in there. Now, do I believe Brick Johnson's in the locker room giving the game ball to Garrett Wilson? Yeah, but also, why is Aaron Rodgers giving the game ball to Jeff Ulbrich? That's the head coach's job to give it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the owner's job to give the game ball to the coach. So I don't know, man. I just think a lot of that story just reads like, oh, here are guys who got fired that are disgruntled trying to explain away why they lost 2/3 of their games. Like, it's not good enough, man.
I mean, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we know the media. We know they love headlines. They'll say anything, whether it's true or not. And secondly, Garrett Wilson, the news about Garrett Wilson really pains me. I hope it's not true as well. But do you think if he were to request a trade at the end of the season, do you think the Jets would trade him? Or do you think that they'd hold on to him and, try and sway him before his contract expires?
Well, first off, the idea that we know Garrett Wilson's requesting a trade, I think is incredibly premature. It's also not even coming from him. It's also not even saying that he will request a trade. Let's remember where all this started. This was the clip that has now become Garrett's requesting a trade.
Talk to people in Garrett Wilson's circle. They think, now I want to emphasize this is speculation on their part. They think he will ask for a trade after the season. Again, speculative by people who know him. We don't know that to be a fact.
Speculative based on people who know him. Like, also, okay, if he requests a trade, you know what I would do? Not trade him. He's under contract for 2 more years, and I have the franchise tag. If I'm a new GM, I'd offer him an extension. Say, you're going to be one of the leaders on the team. We want you here. You mean to tell me if they hire a competent GM and coach, he's going to immediately say, I want out? Like, how could he request a trade when there's no GM, coach, quarterback situation cleared up for next year, and he hasn't been offered an extension yet? Like, I just think it's way too premature to have any conversation.
You're right. You're right. I hope you're right. And, I hope that they figure it out because it's about time they do.
I'm not saying Garrett might not request, like, he could request a trade, but that doesn't mean they have to trade him. Remember?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Brandon Ayuk requested a trade. You know what happened? He signed a new deal. The year before, Deebo Samuel requested a trade. You know what happened? He signed a new deal. We saw the unhappiness of Jamar Chase in Cincinnati because he didn't get a new contract. Well, guess what? He showed up and played. So Garrett could say, trade me or I'm not showing up. You really think he's going to go down the Hassan Reddick route after how that has worked out? Like,
no.
Ultimately, the Jets have leverage here. The only leverage the player has is threatening to hold out, trade talk, so it's a big story, but I don't buy it. At least not yet.
Like you said multiple times, Garrett has that, high give a shit factor. I don't think that if he were to request a trade, I don't think that he would say, I'm not playing till you trade me, Like you said, I think he would still play. And I think you've answered my question well. Because I have seen, like, not just in the NFL, but in a lot of other sports where players request trades and their teams say no, and then by the time their contract expires, they sign a new deal because they've changed their minds. So, I hope we can keep Garrett because he's generational. But yeah, let's just hope that the Jets make the right decisions for once. I think it's about time they do.
The only way this changes is if they hire the right people, Australian Jet fan. Good call. I'll read you a quote from Garrett Wilson yesterday. Rich Cimini said that he spoke with him. Asked him about the sideline outburst after the Jets had to settle for a field goal after a red zone drive in the third quarter. Quote, we've struggled in the red zone this season. I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate the game of football that we play. Me and Tay pride ourselves on a lot of different things as far as playing receiver, and we were brought here for a reason. If we're struggling in the red zone, I feel like the fade is a safe route to go as far as that. So I saw the camera caught that, and I'm sorry they did. Whoever may be offended. But yeah, I play this game a little differently. Wilson noted that on the next series, they threw a fade to Adams, and it resulted in a touchdown. You know what I like? That fucking quote from Garrett Wilson. Excuse my language, but I'm fired up today. That's what a leader says. And if you don't like it, tough shit. All right? I like that Garrett Wilson cares. I like that despite the fact this team was 3-10 going into Sunday, he still gets pissed off and wants to win. That's a winning player. And if you're offended about that, you're offended that he got fired up on the sideline, and you're part of the problem. That's a winner quote right there. I love the line, I'm sorry they did, whoever may be offended. Garrett Wilson cares, man. How often do we sit here and we go, this team doesn't care as much as we do as fans? Man, I'm just, don't apologize, man. Hell yeah, Garrett. If losing doesn't bother you, get the fuck out of the organization, all right? And I'm sorry to curse. I'm so sick of this bullshit because that's all this stuff is. You want to know how you win? Get the right people in charge. Not this loser mentality that engulfs this franchise. The excuse making from the people at the top. Like, winners want to win. You know, Garrett Wilson played at Ohio State. How many games did he lose in his 3 or 4 years there? However many it was. It was probably like 5 total, if that. Someone look it up. All right? He wants to win. So I love that from Garrett. Better than not caring. Winners want to win. Garrett Wilson cares. That's why he should be extended. Ladies and gentlemen, more of your calls right now. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. I got to update the title because we spent a lot of time talking about the athletic story. But we did hit on Rodgers saying open to pay cut would mentor the hell out of a rookie quarterback. If that's true, assuming Aaron Rodgers finishes the year playing well and he's healthy, I want him as the quarterback next year, if that's possible. I do. As long as, once again, a new GM and coach, that's what they want to do. If they want to move on from Rodgers, you got to let them do it. This is where Woody's got to say, I'm hiring football people. They make the decision. I hope the decisions keep Rodgers, assuming he keeps playing how he is. But that's it. More of your calls right now. Let's get an eyewitness perspective on the Jets. David T is up next. What's up, David?
Hi, Jake. I do have one question. If Mr. Bonesy were to go to the Shadow Realm, I mean, I don't know how this is all set up, but is he allowed to take one or two comfortable Alden shoes, pairs of Alden shoes in, or must he tough it out in the Shadow Realm?
You know, it's a great question, David. I have not thought about this, but I will talk with my director of Shadow Realm operations, and I'll try and get some clarification for you.
I'm just wondering, you know, whether it's like a tough thing, or like the politicians go to the vacation prisons, you know. So I was just curious.
He might be allowed one pair, says Tom Ace. So there's something to
it. Just real quick, I think I know you guys talk, and you specifically, you know, a new general manager comes in. I mean, the first thing you do is talk to Garrett Wilson and extend his contract. And now you bring up Aaron Rodgers, and, you know, would you be willing to play for a pay cut and, you know, work with a different and Mr. I do think that Joe was a pretty good general manager.
Damn, the internet just took down David T. You hate to see it. David, great call. I believe where David's at, the Wi-Fi was acting up, and Boomtown's reporting that David was at the North Pole. Omari says, the Ryan Clark thing needs to be addressed. He's such a hater. Yeah, look, here are my thoughts on Ryan Clark, right? He's entitled to his opinion, but I think there's a clear bias in it. So someone sent me a couple people did, including Nate, and I saw it making the rounds yesterday of like Ryan Clark talking about how much he hates Rodgers and talking about how it's because Rodgers shredded him in the Super Bowl. on the touchdown he threw to Greg Jennings. Go watch the play. That's where this all starts. Now, I think a couple things can be true here. You can criticize Rodgers' play on the field, and Rodgers can't say it's because, it's because of what my stance on the vaccine. But with Ryan Clark, it all goes back to a personal bias. So I think there's like a lot of there's like, you got to separate like what Ryan Clark says from what other people say about Rodgers. Like with Ryan Clark, it is clearly a personal thing, in my opinion. It is. And also, I just hate what sports media has become. So Aaron Rodgers gives his opinion. Ryan Clark could personally attack him, calling a fraud. And then Rodgers responds, and then Clark gets to respond again. It's like your job as an analyst, as an analyst, I thought, is to talk about stuff on the field and not like personally attack people. So I don't know. I think Ryan Clark is kind of a fool, to be honest with you, with how he's handled this. Amari really wanted the Clark thing addressed. He super chatted it twice. Once for free and then once for $5. I appreciate you, Omari. I don't know. The thing is, the amount of people who are just looking to use the Jets or Rodgers for clicks, I've never seen anything like this season, man. It's unreal. Anthony says Clark was mad Rodgers threw that touchdown in the Super Bowl and didn't address him by name. Yeah, it goes back a while ago. I would pull the clip and play it, but I would have to test it out first to see if it would get flagged for copyright. But that's where it starts. This goes back several years. Omari says, what pisses me off is the leadership thing. Everyone leads differently. Calling someone fraud without knowing them is BS. Yeah, I mean, I thought Alan Hahn had a great take about this on our station yesterday. Like that's not your job as an analyst to make it personal. It's not. I'm with you, Omari. Comments, questions, super chats will cut the line. Reminder, every channel membership gifted, you get yourself a raffle ticket. Our next prize is the assortment of New York Jets trading cards and a $50 gift card to Copper John's Beard Company.
It's the Asmaniac membership raffle. For every membership gifted, you receive one ticket entered in the raffle to win epic prizes.
More of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Jay Graves, who's next. What's up, Jay Graves?
That's really funny because that was a point I was going to talk about, was the whole Ryan Clark thing. So great segue. I do like Ryan Clark. I liked him when he played. I do think he's an Aaron hater. I've hated his takes on the Jets. You can tell it's because he doesn't like Aaron Rodgers. But my point was going to be today, Aaron, shut the hell up about the vaccine. That was 4 years ago. We're enough of a crap show. But all the other banter back and forth, like, who cares? They're going to say what they're going to say. But you had to bring the vaccination thing into it, dude. Like, come on. We're enough of a clown show. Now you got to do this, and now they're going to be talking about this for 2 weeks. Like, we're coming off a win. Why can't we talk about the win? No, now we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers and Ryan effing Clark. Like, come on. I'm just so over it. It's so stupid.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. And I think, I forget who made this point. I give him credit. I saw something. It's like so much of like the noise with the Jets is like online. But then there's like people like my dad or like the Joe Beningos of the world. Like, they don't follow any of this shit. They just watch the game every week. They're like, Aaron Rodgers can still play, bring him back next year. You know what I mean? It's like we make too much of like all this like Twitter noise and stuff. Like at the end of the day, like, are you winning or you're losing? Like if the Jets win next year, no one's gonna care about any of this extra stuff.
Yeah, like you were saying before, like all that, there's no peeps, there's no leaks, winning cures all, right? As they say.
And I also understand why Rodgers is rightfully annoyed about all this stuff. Because remember, before COVID, he was like one of the most beloved figures in sports. And now he's like this lightning rod and, painted as like this villain. And like, if your whole life you go from being like beloved and everyone, a fan favorite, and now all of a sudden, like, you're hated. Like, I can understand why that would piss you off and affect you. The documentary on Netflix covers a lot of that, I was told. So I
Yeah, I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
it
it
yet,
yet.
but I heard it's good.
Yeah, but then I was like, keep it to football. Like, why? It was like nobody cares about COVID anymore. Like, why you gotta go there? That was my whole thing. I'm like, I was
It's,
cool.
it's because Ryan Clark made it personal with him first.
He
That's
did,
why.
and for sure. And I've known, like I said, I like Ryan Clark. I liked him when he played. He's a boomstick on the field. Like, he used his body as a missile. But like, dude, you're clearly a Rodgers hater because he beat you in the Super Bowl. Like, everybody knows that. And when Rodgers first came to the Jets, all he did was bash the Jets. And then he'd be like, oh, but Garrett Wilson's so good because he knows Garrett Wilson personally. He was on the pivot. So I'm like, dude, you talk about that you like Garrett Wilson, but you're trashing his team. That doesn't make sense either. So I'm just so annoyed that all of our talking points in the algorithms and the social media is this crap. Like, that's what you get when you have a 4-10 team. So
Gotta
that's
win.
really all I got today.
That's the only way
I'm
to turn it
good.
around, Jay Graves. 100%.
All right, Jake, have a good one.
You too, Jay Graves. Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about winning. That's it. I gotta win. It's just it's exhausting, but at the end of the day, what does it really mean at the end of the day? Like this story today, like it's in the past now, right? Like Douglas is fired. Salah's been gone. Am I supposed to be outraged? Like you gotta get these two hires right. That's it. That's the only thing I'm focused on right now. Everything else I just think doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't know. Like as a Jet fan, I'm just exhausted by it. Win football games. That's the only thing that matters. Hire a real coach. Hire Mike Vrabel. Hire Thomas Dimitroff. Or really, the dream scenario. Hire 2 quality football guys in the front office. Hire Thomas Dimitroff as the president of football ops and hire the Mike Greenberg guy from Tampa, who's like the best capologist in the league. Hire him as the GM. So he's getting a promotion and he gets the GM, the team he grew up rooting for, and his family's from Long Island, New York. Hire the dream front office and coaching staff. That's how you win. That's it. I think I view it differently because I went through the same shit in Houston and they turned it around. And it's not rocket science how they did it. The Lions were a bigger joke than the Jets currently are. Remember, Dan Campbell got there and Brad Holmes got there. What was the first thing they did? They traded Matt Stafford. They were going through a full rebuild. You got to win, man. At the end of the day, like, Joe Douglas didn't win enough. He could try and blame Woody, and they could try and leak it out that this was the reason, that was the reason. No, the reason was you guys made too many big mistakes. Woody Johnson wasn't telling you to take Mekhi Becton over Tristan Wirfs. Woody Johnson wasn't telling you to draft Zach Wilson. Woody Johnson wasn't telling you to sign CJ Uzama and to sign Mike Williams and to sign all these other guys. We can go down the list. They didn't work out. Woody Johnson wasn't telling you, hey, dismantle the Jets defensive line. Woody Johnson wasn't telling you, hey, don't sign Jadeveon Clowney, trade for Hassan Reddick instead and create that mess. Yeah, like, at the end of the day, is it concerning some of the stuff you read out there? Sure, but like consider the source and where it's coming from and why it's coming out. I don't think we heard anything about this when under Woody Johnson, 3 different head coaches went to the playoffs his first 10 years of owning the team in Herm Edwards, Eric Mangini, and then Rex. I had Mike Tannenbaum on a radio show I hosted a couple weeks ago. 16 years he worked for Woody Johnson, 7 as the GM. Not once did he ever meddle. Said he was rightfully fired when they didn't start winning, when they stopped winning. Like, I don't know. I don't want to defend Woody because he hasn't done a good job. But I also like see some of the stuff on The Athletic, and it bothers me. And it's like, oh, let's just give Joe Douglas a pass for being 30-64. Robert Saleh for being 20-36. Like, I'm not accepting that. Sorry. There's Patriots fans that want Robert Kraft to sell the team. Seriously. Because they suck now. It's almost like when you don't have a great coach and the best quarterback of all time, it's harder to win. You know, like, I'm sorry, man. I can't. Cal McNair was a racist, worst owner. Sell the team, Cal. 3 coaches in 3 years. Then he hires D'Amico Ryans. They're about to go to the playoffs for the second year in a row. Actually, they already clinched the division, so they are going to the playoffs for the second year in a row. All right, last I checked, unless I find out Woody Johnson said to Joe Douglas last year, you're not allowed to sign a legit backup quarterback. I don't want to hear it from Joe Douglas. You could have made the playoffs last year. Unless I find out Woody Johnson said to Joe Douglas this year, hey, you can't replace Greg Zuerlein. I don't want to hear it from Joe Douglas. You sat on your ass and did nothing and allowed the season to spiral 2 years in a row. I don't want to hear it. Oh, Woody used Madden ratings and wouldn't allow moves to happen. He questioned the John Simpson signing. They still signed the guy. He still got to sign the guy. Right? I mean, come on now. Super chat. They always cut the line around here. Eiston writes in, watching the Lions lose on Thanksgiving was a staple of my childhood. Made me feel better about the Jets. Now I can't even have that. Yeah, but the Lions should give you hope. The Lions should give you hope that, hey, if you get the right people in charge, you could fix your franchise. The Knicks should be the best example. James Dolan never sold the team. He still owns the Knicks. I saw a tweet today. Man, the Rangers are a mess. The Jets suck. The Giants suck. There's no baseball till the spring. Save us, Knicks. I saw that today. The Knicks haven't been to the conference finals since 2001. The Jets were under Woody Johnson, were there back-to-back years with Mark Sanchez as their quarterback. I mean, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to more of your calls right now. Let's say hello to a guy who yesterday I thought did one of the meanest things that has ever happened in the history of this show. So for those who missed it, let me tell the story real quick. Yesterday, BMAC was on the line, and someone allegedly offered me $1,200 to ban him for life. And I said, I don't feel right doing that. However, I am a Capelfish, so I will, without question, put it to a vote for the Asmaniacs to decide. And people voted, and it was about 55-45, don't ban BMAC. And I respect the listeners beyond everything else. So we didn't ban BMAC. And then, on hold, a guy by the name of Bobby, I'm now a diva because I'm famous Midnight, starts flailing his arms like this to come on. So I'm like, oh, he wants to come on and try and defend BMAC. Jake, you can't ban BMAC. No way. Well, in fact, the opposite happened. Bobby Midnight came on and was cold-blooded. He told BMAC, I voted yes to ban you. And I was shocked. And the Bobby Midnight I thought I knew was gone. Anakin Skywalker had become Darth Vader right before our eyes. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since yesterday, we say hello to Darth Bobby.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course. Hey, were you on Nick's Shine show yesterday? Didn't BMAC say I apologized to him yesterday? So it's done. I apologize.
So you regret what you said to Bernard?
Yes, I did. I apologized to him twice on the phone yesterday, and I texted him twice, okay?
Okay, well, you have to share that with the audience here. It's a different audience.
Well, I'm sharing with you. You were on the show, too. You left that part out. You left that part out.
Well, that's for you to explain.
Well, everybody, Jake left that part out. I did call him last night and apologized, and then I texted him. So
you did the right thing, Bob.
Okay, so you're making me like a heel. I already did what you told me to.
Yeah,
do
you're not. Look, you're not built
so
to be a heel.
So you gotta apologize to Alan because you banned him today.
No, I will.
Okay. He doesn't have to give you any more money. I help you.
The only apology to Alan I will give is absolutely nothing.
I'm gonna just tell him not to give you any more money.
Okay, well, he doesn't have to give me any money.
Good. I hope not.
Because guess what, Bobby? Alan called you, and I'm quoting here, folks, so language alert, a fucking moron on this very channel 3 days ago. And now you want me to apologize to him. I will not apologize to him because he gives you channel memberships. You think he's a good guy?
He doesn't give me nothing. How could I get channel memberships? I'm not up to that yet.
Well, when you had a channel, he would give you money.
Yeah.
He would.
Well, he gives you money all the time, and you put them in the hole. So it's different.
Yeah, but okay, he gives money. Great. That doesn't mean he's immune to being sent to the hole or he's not a bad guy.
Right, see what I wrote about Bonesy. Jake put me on. I want to sacrifice for Mr. Bonesy.
Bobby, you have to respect the bounty. If the Asmaniacs wanted Allen in the hole, I'm not going to sit here and stop them.
Well, they wanted BMAC yesterday. You turned
No, they
them
didn't.
down.
No, they didn't. It was a vote because we're a democracy in this great country. And guess what? BMAC was saved.
Well, I made a mistake. I apologize to him.
You voted to send him to banishment. And you want me to apologize to Allen because what? He gives memberships here or there or sends the occasional super chat. Have you heard how he's talked about certain people on this show? What he has said about some of the great listeners who tune in? And you want me to apologize to that guy? No way. Not happening.
All right. But, okay. So I did apologize, like you said. So
because you don't want to be a heel. Allen is a heel. You're not that guy. You used to be nice, but fame and success has changed you, I'm afraid.
I'm bigger now. I apologize, listening. So
you used to be the nice guy who would come on and be excited and love everybody. And now,
it's all right.
You're
for
voting
you
to ban.
joke
You're
around with
voting
me
to
when I'm on
ban
here.
Bernard, a guy who at one point in time, you and him were going to drive down together to MetLife to go to a game together. That's the guy you voted to ban for life. You voted for that.
Yeah.
And you're going to lecture me that I should apologize to Allen of all people after on this very channel 3 days ago, he said in language alert, everyone, I apologize. He said that you, Bobby Midnight, are a fucking moron. And I'm not going to allow him to get away with that. I'm defending you.
No, when he comes on my show, I'll talk to him about it.
Well, why haven't you? It happened 3 days ago. You've changed, Bob.
He hasn't been on my show for a while.
It's sad what fame has done to you, Bob.
Yeah, no, I already apologized. I did my part. He's all friends with me, so why you keep on harping on it? I did my part. Okay, have a good day, Jake.
That's it. You're done. There's someone online who wants to talk to you.
All done.
That's it. You don't want to talk to the person on the line who wants to talk to you?
Whatever. Let me talk to who.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
Bob.
Yes, Rob. What would you like to talk about, Rob?
What?
What would you like to talk to me about? It says,
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
No, what's wrong with you is that you're defending this jerk off all the time.
Well, what about what you did to my friend Jaden? What if you called him?
Hold up. Let me say what I want to say. The last time he wrote underneath his caption, Neil, Bonesy, Rob, dopes. Why don't you go defend me? How about defending me to Allen?
Okay, what about you talk about my friend Jaden? What about you talk about my friend Jaden?
Jaden, because he came at me on the chat. And I don't even know this guy. Why is he coming after me, this guy, Jaden?
I have no clue.
Well, I'm letting you know. I don't come after people for nothing, Bobby.
Okay, I'll stick up for you. I didn't know he said that to you.
I think you know me, Bobby. He was taking little shots at me on the chat, and I got mad. But I manned up.
I didn't know that.
Oh, hold up. I manned up. I came onto your show, and what did I say to Jaden? I apologized to him.
Yes,
Remember?
you did. You did. Yes,
you were there. You were there.
Yeah,
so you know my character, Bobby. You know my character. But this,
yeah, you know my character. I apologize to me.
I know, yeah, and I like you, but you're getting a little demented with this jackass Allen because he takes pot shots at people. It's not fair.
Okay.
He's taking pot shots at Neil, Bonesy, who you love, and I thought once upon a time you liked me.
I always like you three. What are you talking about?
You need to have a talk with Allen, buddy. I'm sorry to tell you that, but you need to have to, because I said something, okay? Let me say this. I said something, and Allen took it totally out of context. I never was comparing Aaron Rodgers to Josh Allen of today. That's a silly comparison.
No, I don't think he did either.
Josh Allen is a lot better than Aaron Rodgers is. All I said, Bobby, all I said was Josh Allen has 25 touchdowns and Aaron Rodgers has 23, 2 less. That's all I said. There was no correlation who's better now.
No,
I'm not delusional.
No, you're
I'm
not delusional. No.
I know, Aaron. I know that Josh Allen's much better than him. There's no comparison. But this guy takes everything out of context and makes me look foolish in the chat. And I have a
you
problem.
don't look foolish.
That's not fair, Bobby. That's not fair.
I know. I'm on your side on that. I don't think you said that.
You have to have a talk with this guy, Bobby. He's been out of control lately. It's not fair. I know
right,
you
I'll
like
tell
to
him.
use your money, but you know what? Money is not everything. Friendship is a lot bigger than money. A lot bigger than money.
Okay.
You know, you got people like Bonesy who love you. You got people like Jake who love you. You got people like myself. But yet you've been taking this guy's side a lot, and it's troublesome. It's really bothering me. What's wrong with you? Don't let
I
the
like
fame.
everybody. I like everybody.
Bobby, I know you like the fame, but don't let it get to your head. Remember where you came from. Remember I got one more thing to say before you cut me off, Jake. Now we have to say the truth here a little bit, Jake. It's coming around now. People wanting Aaron Rodgers back. Little by little, Nick Faria is starting to say it. You're starting to see it. Bonesy's been saying it, and Neil's been saying it forever, and I've been also saying it. But now we can make a quote here that we're seeing things change because we don't have any better options out there for a bridge quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is stating, I'll take a pay cut. I will mentor the hell out of the next guy. But you know what? I'm competitive. I don't want him on. I don't want him on anymore. Nick, yelling at Bob, you scumbag move. Make yourself look foolish. I'm sorry, Nick, but you know what? Anybody who is on the side of Allen infuriates me. I'm trying to put some sense into Bobby. I love Bobby. But you know what? Bobby is getting swayed by money now. And you know what? We don't want him to turn into that person. He is a good, lovable guy, but he's getting a little swayed by capitalism. Oh, I'm a capitalist now. And it's a little too much lately. And that's the problem I had, Nick. I love Bobby, okay? I love Bobby. Okay, what do we got here? Let's get a bounty for Rob. That's okay. You can have a bounty for me. It doesn't bother me. You don't know Bobby. Okay. I mean, well, Bobby's a friend of mine, and I want him to stay straight. It's the only reason why I'm saying it. How much for a permanent Robin? Thanks, Nick. Wow, Nick. I don't think I've ever done anything bad to you that you're saying that to me. Very disappointed in you, Nick. Very disappointed. I've always supported your station. That's pretty bad, Nick. If Rob has 10 fans, I am one of them. Rob has 3 fans. I am one of them. Rob has 0 fans. That's funny, John. Very good, John. What else? Rob, get off my screen. I didn't know you owned the screen. Excuse me. Tomatoes, not good. Unless you make it for sauce. Very disappointed in Nick. Yeah, I am very disappointed in Nick Sean. I thought Nick was a fair guy. And I've always had respect and liked Nick a lot. But Nick, you're essentially siding with Allen, is what you're saying. I just turned into what the fuck is going on? Okay. A more Ron, Neil, or less of Bobby. Left. Okay. Rob deserves to have a winning team. Yeah. Why can't we have a winning team? What's wrong with that? Can't we all get along? I'd love to get along. It's Allen who stirs the pot. And then people are mad at me today because I'm trying to tell Bobby, don't succumb to the way this guy talks. That's all we're saying. We're just trying to keep Bobby straight. I didn't mean to yell at Bobby, but I'm just trying to say, hey, Bobby, come on. Trying to shake him and say, come on, Bobby, stop. What's going on here? Welcome to the Rob Show. Jake will be back shortly. That's fine. Hey, how you doing, buddy? How's it going today?
Doing well.
Are you safe there in Israel? Everything good?
It's safe in Jerusalem, but we had a missile into not outside of Tel Aviv, so it's scary there.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I mean, Jason did right. I'd be back shortly. So, yeah, he was right. I'm back. All right, we'll continue with your calls right now. What a rumble that was, huh? Let's say hello to Jason in Jerusalem. Hello, Jason.
Hey, Jake. So we get to see, I guess, if Joe D was right about not signing Carson Wentz when Rodgers went down last year. I mean, he's up now for KC, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he was listening to Jets X Factor, he would have had a better quarterback. If he was listening to me or anyone with a brain, Badlands, whoever you want to throw out there. That's why I just think the story. I'm not saying stuff in there is not true, but I think it's like it's being used to try and justify bad decision making by this front office and coaching staff over a very large sample size. They had enough time to turn it around. They didn't win enough. So, and like, however we got to the point where they're not employed, like it's the right move. Now they got to hire the right people because they were never going to win with the previous regime.
Absolutely, but didn't Wentz reach out to the Jets after Rodgers went out and Joe D said no, thank you?
I think you're right. I think there was a report about that.
And now he's QB2 behind Mahomes, and it looks like he might need to get some playing time.
Yeah, he's good enough to be the backup for the two-time defending champs, so I'm sure he would have been good enough to be the backup to Aaron Rodgers last year, 100%.
About what Bonesy said, I don't get it. You're going to rip Madden ratings, but yet you're going to say, but this guy's good, but this guy's good, but this guy's good. There's a level of coaching and cohesiveness that needs to come together, and the GM is responsible for the coaching. And even if you get good individual players, but they can't play together and create wins, then you've done nothing. So yeah, you had good picks. You had Hall, you had Wilson, Sauce. But at the end of the day, they didn't translate to wins. And in the same way, you're going to point and say, well, we have all these good players. But on the other hand, isn't that just modern day Madden ratings?
I mean, I do think they had a good roster. I still believe that. But ultimately, when you miss on the coach as bad as they seemingly did, right, and they blow it with the offensive coordinator hire, like here's the other thing too, right? The story reads, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Jets players were very upset about Nathaniel Hackett. Okay. So then if Woody Johnson is so involved, why wasn't Nate Hackett then fired last year? He wasn't.
Right.
So it's like there's things in there that don't fit with like this idea that Woody's not letting anyone do their jobs. Like he kept everyone. He gave
the whole story with Hackett made no sense because they tried to replace him while keeping Hackett on the roster. Nobody was taking that job knowing that Saleh had one foot out the door if things went bad. And about the Judy trade, yeah, sometimes an owner needs to step in and say to a GM, I don't want you mortgaging the future to save your job. That's the role of an owner in that situation. When a GM's on a short leash, he can't make the same moves. And part of the owner's realization there is he's going to mortgage the future for some, get a seventh spot in the playoffs and save his ass for 2 years. You don't do that. Hey, Carolina, when they had the first pick overall a number of years back, had traded their second overall the year beforehand to move up in the draft when New England had it. If you remember that year, I forget which year it was. I think when they fired Rivera. And they knew the GM was just mortgaging the future to try to save his tush.
I think ultimately, whether some stuff of the story is true or not, I think we know where it's coming from, right? It's coming from people who are all been fired, who are trying to spin why it didn't work so they can get a better job in their next opportunity.
But as a Mets fan, reading that article, it reminded me of the Wilpons, of of sons who have no business running the franchise, sitting in on meetings and meddling in and making decisions.
But the issue with the Wilpons more than anything else was they didn't spend money like a big market team. That was the biggest problem.
Madoff raped them in terms of their finances.
That was the biggest issue. The one thing with Woody Johnson you can't say is that he's cheap. He's always paid top dollar for coaches, GM candidates, the facility. He's hired the wrong people, unfortunately.
Right.
And if you want to get on Woody Johnson for anything, if he felt this way about Saleh and Douglas, which he clearly did, that he lost faith in them well before the year even started, why were they allowed to be in their respective roles going into this year? They should have been fired at the end of last year if you were only going to give Robert Saleh just 5 games with Aaron Rodgers this year. That's it.
I mean, what really showed me that he was willing to spend money is after Greg Knapp passed away. Rest in peace, Greg Knapp. And they realized Zach was struggling. They hired his personal QB coach for the rest of the year, and Zach played pretty decent with John Beck on the sidelines.
Yeah,
he was innovative. He spent the money.
Yeah, they didn't win. They didn't win enough. And they could try and explain it any way they want, but ultimately, Joe Douglas's record is 30-64.
Oh, Parcells, you are what your record is, but they have a good Madden rating. Madden 24.
And look, I was someone who said, it can't just be about the record only for Douglas going into the year because of what happened with Rodgers last year. But there was no excuse. It was win this year or there's got to be changes like that. I was very consistent with that. And I was consistent with last year, too. If you're going to make a change, they both got to go, not one or the other. Because I didn't think it'd be fair to Saleh to fire him and the staff when I believe last year the biggest reason why they only won 7 games and not more is because they refused to bring in an adequate backup once Aaron got hurt 4 plays in.
Exactly. And who would Douglas be able to hire knowing that it's possible that in a year you're going to have a new GM who might want to bring in his own coach? It would be the dumbest of things there to have even fired Saleh without firing Douglas, because you're going to limit the pool of who you could have as a head coach. But the kicking issues you mentioned with Zerline, that happened his first year. He had Jason Myers, and he just let him walk. And who did we have afterwards? Kari Vedvik, Alex Kessman, Matt Amendola. I mean, kicking has always been an issue for Douglas until he got Zerline.
You're not wrong. He struggled with kickers the entire tenure outside of the 2 Zerline years. And then this year happens, and he was too late to be a great. You would think if you know your job is on the line, if you don't win, you would think you would do everything in your power to try everything. If you're going to go down, if you're going to go down, at least go down trying. He did nothing at kicker. I think maybe one of the last straws was probably they didn't sign the first Zerline replacement to their active roster. So the Chiefs were able to poach the guy for nothing. Remember that happened before the Arizona game?
Exactly. And that made no sense. And he's now an IR, but he would have been without a job. He chose 4 games with the Chiefs over the rest of the year with the Jets. The Jets offered him too late a full contract. And he said he'd rather go to the Chiefs until Butker comes back. That's how much he hated being on the Jets, that kicker.
Yeah, look, I think Jay Quest nails it. I've been saying it in 2 months, none of this matters. And I tend to agree. The Jets will now be judged on who these 2 people are that they're hiring for GM and coach. Are we going to be complaining about Woody Johnson if he hires Mike Vrabel? I'd imagine 95% of the fan base would be a good hire. Now let's win.
Exactly. But, it's a shame because these uniforms remind me of what it was like being a Jets fan in the late 80s with those Joe Walton era.
And the beginning of the 80s. They were good in the beginning of the 80s.
Yeah, but I was born then, so I don't remember that stuff. But, all I was told was A.J. Dewey and O'Brien over Marino. I mean, that was my exposure there. But seeing teams that they expected to do really well and just fall completely flat, that was the Jets of the late 80s.
The pain never stops, Jason, but hopefully
the pain.
One day it does. Good call. I appreciate it. See with a super chat for us joining late. I'm sorry if this was talked about. The Athletic has a clear agenda to tear down the Jets and steer head coach and GM candidates. Leave us alone. Well, there's clearly an agenda, but the agenda is they have every disgruntled employee who was just fired talking. I mean, you want to know who the sources are. Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, Rex Hogan. Never forget, Rex Hogan is so highly... Here's what I want every Jet fan to do right now. If you're on Twitter, 2 things. 1, follow me at Jake Asman. I appreciate it. 2, type in your search bar, Rex Hogan, and then put highly respected or respected and read the amount of tweets coming from people who cover the Jets or national reporters who probably got scoops from Rex Hogan. If he's so respected by NFL people, why didn't he get another job? Right? If he was so great, what am I missing? And Rex was a nice guy. I met him at the Hall of Fame game last year, but I just typed in Rex Hogan news on Google. I don't see any job he has right now. Why didn't anyone hire him if he's such a highly respected front office voice, right? He got fired on January 1st, 2024. Is he, unless I missed something, and I will apologize and say, I'm sorry, Rex, I didn't realize you got another job. I don't think he's employed right now. Remember, the original story was they mutually agreed to part ways. Now he got fired. Maybe Woody was pissed with all the leaks. I don't know. I really don't want to defend Woody because, I want this team to win, and he's part of the problem until they win. But I just think, these articles come out, and it's like, oh, let's bash Woody and come up with every excuse in the book why we sucked at our jobs. You didn't win enough. That's the bottom line. You didn't win enough. All right? Woody Johnson didn't say draft Zach Wilson and take Mekhi Becton over Tristan Wirfs. Woody Johnson didn't go to Joe Douglas and say, hey, go sign Corey Davis for a boatload of money or Carl Lawson. Woody Johnson didn't go to Joe Douglas and say, hey, go draft Elijah Moore or Denzel Mims. You got to win, man. And the Robert Saleh hire was 100% Joe Douglas. He led the search. It was his decision. He got to pick his coach. Joe Douglas had an unbelievable opportunity as a GM. He got a 6-year contract. He came in, got to decide if he wanted to keep Sam Darnold. He chose to move on. Got to draft his quarterback, and then got a mulligan after missing on Zach Wilson to try and get it right, and got to land Aaron Rodgers in a deal. Come on. He had more than enough time. You got to pick your coach. You got to pick your quarterback twice. You had 5 drafts, 5 free agent periods, and you were 30-64. I'm going to blame Woody for all that? I'm not buying it, man. And I think if you're a Jet fan, you shouldn't either. It's easy just to blame the owner for everything. And the owner is part of the problem, but ultimately the biggest problem and the biggest thing you can blame Woody Johnson for, he hasn't gotten it right with the people he's employed. And when he had, Herm and Tannenbaum, or Herm and Terry Bradway, and then Mangini and Tannenbaum, and then Rex and Tannenbaum, this team won. I grew up, and they were going to the playoffs every year or every other year. The Jets were a playoff team in 2002, in 2004, in 2006. They should have been in 2008. They were 8-3, but Favre got hurt. 2009 and 10. From 2000 to 2016, the Jets never had back-to-back losing seasons because they had better people in charge then. It was the same owner. But let's blame Woody for everything. No, blame him for not hiring the right people. That's what you blame the guy for. Barney's trying to claim that, Woody definitely had influence on the Zach Wilson pick. He did not. I could tell you for a fact. That was Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan. So please. If you believe that, Barney, man. Barney with a super chat. Even if it's 10% true, this is bad. Woody sucks. I'm not telling you Woody's good. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt until he hires good football people. But is this story going to matter if he hires? I'm just going to throw out, Ray Agnew and Mike Vrabel. Do you care then, Jet fans? I heard nothing about Woody meddling until this season. So what's Joe Douglas's excuse for the previous 5 years he had to build this team the way he wanted? Someone explain that one to me. J-Boy writes in, Zach wasn't the problem, never had an OC. Ladies and gentlemen, the truthers are alive.
All the pieces come together in a season, it can be absolute perfection, folks, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the Jets, led by Zach Wilson, will fucking suck ass, guys.
We'll see you later. New Jersey, the super trucker. We would have had a better chance with that man with the boot on his foot from Bonesy's store as kicker. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like buttons. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's check in right now with Stan from Westport. Hey, Stan, what's going on?
Hey, Jake, good to see you again. And, I think back to when we met at Hackensack Brewing, Joe's show, and the Pain.
Oh, my God.
podcast.
2-1 coming off a huge win the night before. I couldn't believe it.
It's like living a nightmare, and it's incredible. But I do respect you for defending the institution of the Jets, not necessarily the individuals, including Woody. And you've been very fair, I think, with all of it, and truthful and factual. It's all based on fact. But I will say this, if it's true, does not really help. I think that the next, head coach and GM are going to get a deal where there's going to be some kind of separation, big number, because of how tenuous this role is. And Woody can afford that. I think if he listens to Tannenbaum's company and they really do the right analysis, they will find the right people. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed about the team and the way they've executed or lack thereof, it hasn't been that far away from being okay. But my thing from a while ago was that they were out-muscled, out-strengthed, the size of the players, especially on D. The D was vaunted and supposed to be very good, but it's obviously been the weak spot. Now, as far as bringing Mr. Rodgers back, I think you really almost don't have any choice. A, he's willing. There's a lot of money involved in letting him go now or going through next year. So I don't think it's that sort of consideration. And he seems to be willing to compromise on that. And I give him credit for that, because I did criticize him for how he behaved through a lot of the year last year and into this year with the whole Egypt thing. And I just felt like, hey, dude, you got 4 plays, you got a very big payday to come here, and your heart and soul should be in this thing 1,000%.
Well, I think it was, though, to be fair to him. I mean, he took the largest pay cut in NFL history before he even played a game. The Netflix doc shows you just how committed he was to try and coming back last year and lead the team. So
yeah, that's true.
If you're going to criticize Rodgers for anything, you could get on him for the Mike Williams red line thing. Maybe that should have been kept in house. But and look, Rodgers hasn't been great, but to be fair to him, he's also coming off the injury. He also was playing, according to Jay Glazer, through the following injuries this season, right? A grade 2 hamstring tear, MCL sprain, high ankle sprain.
And he didn't broadcast it.
No,
that's kind of under the rug.
He wanted to play through it, and which I respect, but it's one of those things where it's like he also thought he'd have a top 10 defense and a kicker who couldn't miss. If you put this version of Aaron Rodgers on last year's team, they win 10 or 11 games. Like, they're a good team a year ago with this.
You're right, Jake. And as Joe B has pointed out, if you look at the stats, he's not bad this year at all. I mean, he's actually decent. It's not like a throwaway, terrible situation with him. And the last thing I'll say is that, there you go, 100.4, we'll take that.
The biggest stat is they in the last 7 games they've had the lead with under a minute to go in 5 of them, and they're 2-5. Like, if they had anywhere close to the coaching and defense they had last year,
exactly,
they're maybe not a Super Bowl team, because I think there'd still be clear limitations on just how far they could go, but they'd be in the mix. They'd have a chance to at least be the playoff team, and you end the haven't made the playoffs since 2010. The graphic that every Jet fan has to see this time of year. Every single week you watch the Jets on TV.
For sure, it's all on the day. And the last thing I'll say is, as bad as what I thought Shane and the Giants organization in general looked because of Hard Knocks, even Mr. Mara to some extent not taking enough charge of it, if all of these things that The Athletic put out, which to me, The Athletic as a publication is like a headline-grabbing entity, is more than, I don't know, about the seriousness of the content. I would just say that it really kind of helps the Giants take the heat off somewhat. And I think Mr. Mara is going to stick with both these guys to be the sort of anti-Woody. Like, I'm not firing my GM and coach because he did it, and so I'm going to just run through next year and see what happens. So, appreciate your content always, and your insight is profound, and everybody should follow. One last thing, Bobby Midnight. It's interesting because he's wearing an Adelaide hat which it's going to be like 85 degrees there today, but he's also got a snowflake sweater on. So it's kind of a mismatch, you know?
It's an astute observation, Stan. Good call. I love it. Thanks for calling it as always. Oh man, it's just. Can we just get to the offseason, man? Jay Quest has my favorite comment on the show. None of this matters in 2 months. It really doesn't. What do you think? The Jets aren't going to be able to hire a coach or GM? Of course they are. Bill Belichick reached out about this job. How bad could it be if the greatest coach ever wanted to interview for the job? Thought he would just get the job, by the way. Probably thought it was beneath him to even have to interview with Woody. I told you what I would have done. I would have hired Belichick for 24 hours and then fired him. But I'm pettier than most. New Jersey Super Trucker, 410 people watching. Click the like button. Please do. Like and subscribe. Use promo code Asman with Underdog Fantasy and get your picks in for Thursday Night Football tonight. All right? We got a game on. Matt P. writes in, Zach Wilson had 23 touchdowns with the Jets in 3 seasons. Rodgers has 23 touchdowns this season alone. Zach is not a good starting quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying Zach Wilson is bad. The league has spoken on Zach. He's a third-string quarterback. The league spoke on Darnold. Darnold got the play right away. The league thought the Jets failed Darnold, which they did. Unfortunately, Carolina didn't put him in a great situation either, and it took Sam having to go sit for a year with Shanahan, and now he's in the best scenario possible with O'Connell and those weapons in Minnesota. Like, Sam Darnold's Tom Brady compared to Zach Wilson. Mimosa with a 5 spot of channel memberships. Mimosa, you're in the next raffle for the prize pack of Jets trading cards, baby. And the $50 Copper John gift card, baby.
You know, thinking is overrated.
So is winning, Woody. Can we try and do that next year? Zoink Nation, Frank Blau, Earl Bedford, Nate, and Barry Reed all just became channel members. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I got time for a couple more calls here before we wrap. Hamburger's up next. What's up, Hamburger?
Hey, what's up, Jake?
What's up, man?
Watching the, after you get through the Aaron Rodgers, the Enigma, the first episode, the second one really brings to light on Aaron Rodgers' personality and the type of person he is. And I think if you haven't watched it yet, and you're somebody that doesn't, follow any of those weird things that people do, it might leave a little bad taste in your mouth about him. But he's a weird dude. That's what I come out with it. I still like him. I think I get what he's doing. But I think he had a lot of issues when he was younger with his family and stuff like that. So you kind of get to see what the guy's like and how he wants to be with the Jets and what he did to prepare to come and play. And then you see that he's in spring and he's still having issues with his Achilles. It was still tight. It was still fatter than the rest. So I think that really did still play a part in his performance early in the year. I think he's finally shaken that out among the other injuries that he got. So, listen, if you haven't watched it, it's going to be tough to get through the first episode. The second episode is really enlightening on the guy. It really is. You get to see his point of view and what really happened to him. So it's a good watch. It's not bad. It was tough the first episode, though. I will say it. I haven't got to the third yet. So tonight I'll probably finish it off. But it was really good.
It's I was going to watch it last night, but the pain of having to relive last year and the injury, I didn't have it in me.
rough.
So I'm holding out. I will watch it. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, definitely the first episode is rough, but really the second episode really puts light on his life and why he is the way he is and how he thinks. And it's interesting, but I just really wanted to say that. But you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And I got a Christmas party tonight, so I'll be out and about in the city.
Hey, hamburger.
Hey. Yeah.
A night on the town. Let's go.
A night on the town. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the hamburger. I love it. Good call. Let's say hello to Mike Turtle E. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Jake. How are you, buddy?
What's up, Mike? Are you a first-time caller? I don't recognize the name.
Yeah, I am. That's because you're familiar with me on X as Mike Oxlong. I comment on your stuff all the time.
I appreciate it, Mike. Welcome aboard.
No problem. The biggest things, and I noticed earlier that you kind of nailed the head on this, is just overall, we've not been a good football team for a couple of years, and a lot of that I put on the shoulders of the GM. A lot of that is, a lot of the stuff coming out of the Atlantic is force fed by Mike LaFleur, by Saleh, of course, by Joe Douglas. The problem that we've had,
people that have been fired. Yeah, it's disgruntled employees.
So it's funny, but because all of this starts from the draft, it all stems from the draft, and unfortunately, not a lot of people understand or realize that post Eagles, after Joe Douglas got better, their offense got better, their front office got better when Joe Douglas came here, and to kind of nail that in, understand since 2020 we've had 0 of 9 players on our roster from the draft from his first one. We have 2 of 10 players from his 2021 draft. We have 4 of 7 from 2023, which 2 of which are third string or worse. It's really bad. Like, his tenure was really bad, and everybody gives him free passes.
I agree. And it wasn't even just the drafts too, Mike. The free agent signings weren't good enough either.
Yes.
That's and it's the in-season moves. If he signed Carson Wentz last year after the first game of the season, they maybe go to the playoffs. They probably do.
No, you're not wrong. And I actually pulled that up because I kind of been typing notes while I've been waiting for the turn. But, last year alone, think about this for a second. We had Tim Boyle, Brett Rypien, Trevor Siemian, Strevler, Zach Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. Now, the funny thing about that, everybody criticized him for the wait and see approach that we've all, hated him for over the last couple of years. When it came to offensive line, he always played wait and see. The quarterback situation, he played wait and see, and I think that was his ultimate downfall. These are free agent quarterbacks from last year that he passed on for those guys. Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater, Gardner Minshew, Marcus Mariota, Andy Dalton, Tyler Heineke, all of which are serviceable veterans. I'm not going to include Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, and Geno Smith because obviously they're starters for other teams. They were going to re-sign with their organizations, period. But the real problem that it all stems from 2021 and getting rid of Darnold. I kept receipts for everybody on wanting to keep Darnold because that draft was loaded. 2021 was loaded with talent. We should have traded back and not taken Zach Wilson. We passed on Jamar Chase, Offensive Rookie of the Year. We passed on Micah Parsons, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, who anchors the O-line out in, guess where? Detroit.
Yeah.
Then you have Rashawn Slater. Guess who he anchors? Chargers under Jim Harbaugh. Christian Darrisaw, who's now Darnold's tackle, anchors the Minnesota line. Creed Humphrey, Kansas City center. It's just that everything stems from that one draft.
That's a huge part of it, but also, and this is where I will talk about Douglas and Saleh and give them a pass from this standpoint. It also all goes back to Rodgers going down 4 plays in last year, Mike.
Yes.
Because if he doesn't get hurt and plays, maybe he gets hurt anyway and they don't make the playoffs. But Aaron's proven he's pretty tough and would play through a lot.
Absolutely.
They make the playoffs last year if Aaron plays in 15 of the 17 games, let's say, or 14 of the 17 games. And then everything is completely different. Or let's say Aaron did play last year and they still underachieved. Maybe Woody Johnson does what he should have done anyway, and he fires those guys. And Mike Vrabel's coaching this team this year when he became available at the end of last year. And this team is in the mix this year. It all goes back to the Wilson pick for sure. But then if you want to blame Woody for anything, it's not firing the coaching staff and the general manager if you have no faith in them at the end of last year. That's where you can get on Woody for starting the medal and whatnot. Because let's be real, before this, we didn't hear a peep about any of that nonsense.
No, see, the whole meddling thing is laziness. It's lazy writing. It's lazy reporting. The whole idea behind Woody being meddling is absolutely absurd. Woody didn't really meddle until the end of last year. And that's because he lost faith in Joe Douglas. I'm trying to talk too fast here. I'm sorry. But see, this is the thing is, if you remember, Jake, last year, everybody said, well, if we had midi quarterback play, we'd have been a playoff team. That's accurate. I firmly believe that. That was their whole thing is, hey, if we had midi quarterback play, if we had average quarterback play, Well, I hate to break it, we've had that this year, and we're terrible.
Right, because the coaching got worse, the defense regressed, the kicking game sucks now, all that.
Even they regressed because we completely dismantled the D line.
Exactly. And also they fired, and look, I don't think Saleh was a great coach, Mike, but clearly he had a lot to do with the success of the defense, and that obviously that move completely backfired. All right, you can honestly understand what Woody was trying to do, right? Create a spark. It had the opposite effect, so he's got to own that. It was a mistake.
I firmly believe that the spark he tried to create this year, I think a lot of those, and I will die on this hill and probably catch a lot of flack. I think a lot of the trades were good moves. Devontae Adams, I was not a fan of at first because I called it a Band-Aid. I called it a Band-Aid to an open wound. We were already hemorrhaging. We were already in that, we're going to lose phase. Now, if we can turn that into a positive, I think that's going to be a humongous play going forward. But at the end of the day, I think what we have to do is we have to solidify the defense. We have to find a coach that knows how to build a winner. I mean, we're an attractive organization right now, despite how many people would say otherwise. We've got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. We have talent on the defense, a lot of contracts are coming due. Who do we re-sign? Who do we keep? And who do we move on for going forward is going to be the real problem. And you need somebody who understands that and who's going to really put want to work those numbers. So that's going to be interesting going forward on who they hire as a GM. And I think this is probably going to be the most important hire that we've seen in a very long time in this organization.
Because to your point, Mike, there's talent on this team, so the right GM can come in, hire the right coach, mold this roster, and they should be competitive next year, regardless
with the top 10 pick. Yep, with the top 10 pick and plenty of compensatory picks that we're going to have either this year or next year. This is an attractive job for a lot of GMs and coaches. It's just going to be a matter of whether we make that right decision. And what doesn't help the situation is the athletic. Diana Rossini just seems to have an axe to grind with this organization, her and Zach Rosenblatt. And forgive me, for throwing those names out there. I try not to, but it is what it is. And every year there's articles that they're putting out that they retract, or articles they put out that they later renege on. And like Diana, for example, reneged on a lot of her articles this year through her podcast. It's absolutely insane. And I think that
remember, they also were going to bench Aaron Rodgers after the bye. Remember that? That was part of one of the stories too. What happened to that? Also, I'd like to bring up what the first article said. Woody wanted to bench Rodgers because of his performance against Denver, which I never bought for a second, because this was this was 10 days after he played the best game a Jet quarterback had played in a decade against the Patriots. I was there. Thank God I saw it, because that was the highlight of the whole Rodgers era, most likely. I guess we'll find out.
Oh, absolutely.
Then on her podcast, the same week that first story comes out, she then changes the story and says, well, Woody wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers for his health, right? He was banged up in that game against Denver. And then today the article says, Woody was making a joke and wanted to see the people in the meeting, their reaction to it. So it's like you lose credibility when the story changes 3 separate times.
Absolutely. Look, do I agree Aaron Rodgers needed a break? Absolutely. Do I agree he needed to be benched? Probably. But at the end of the day, it needed to be it was a coaching decision. Like, if the dude's not healthy and we're losing games because of it, that's the whole reason that you went out and signed the backup quarterback that we have, was to give him a break when he needed to.
But this is where real coaching comes in, because Mike Vrabel would have the balls to say, Aaron, I love you. You can't play.
You're hurt.
You're hurt.
But you're hurt.
We have Tyrod here. He's playing. Jeff Ulbrich doesn't have the balls, and you can't expect him to, as an interim, to piss off the Hall of Fame quarterback who he needs to be bought in after Rodgers clearly didn't like the decision to fire Saleh, so we could get rid of that narrative that he got Saleh fired because it's horseshit. It's not true. So it all goes back to coaching. That's why you need a real leader, because if you had Mike Vrabel or Brian Flores, they sit Rodgers after the Denver game so he could get healthy, and maybe he's back and able to go out there and give this team a better chance to win before it's too late.
Exactly, and that's why we signed him, as opposed to bringing back like a Rypien or anybody else. I mean, you're completely destroying the whole point of having a quality backup. Yep. Same thing with drafting the likes of Braylon Allen, running back who we didn't need in the draft this year. Malachi Corley, like, why isn't he playing? What are we doing here? You're drafting all these players that you hyped up in the offseason, and it's the story of our team. We always do this. We hype up these guys, and they end up crashing and burning and going to a different organization. Same thing with quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Darnold. Hey, they're bad quarterbacks. They're terrible. Let's get rid of them. And then they go on to other teams, and Darnold's in the talks for MVP right now. 12-2. The Vikings. Are you serious? Geno, playoff quarterback with the Seahawks. I get it. It took them a couple of teams, but that's what they needed. They needed to be coached up, and that's what happened. They got coached up, and now they're playoff contending quarterbacks. It's insane, and it's not just the quarterback position. How many times did we release defensive players that went on to be fantastic players? Remind me, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They got the linebacker, Demario Davis. Huge miss.
Yeah, pre Joe Douglas though. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
look,
but it's
there's a pattern here, right? How do you go 14 years without making the playoffs? You have the wrong GM and coach running your operation. That's it. You can blame the owner all you want. This is the same owner. The first 16 years of his ownership, they never had back-to-back losing seasons.
Yeah, notice how no other coach accused him of meddling until more recently. I
didn't hear Rex saying any. Why is Rex Ryan dying to get this job again if he thinks Woody Johnson is going to meddle and not let him do it? Why did Bill Belichick call Mike Tannenbaum to try and get an interview for this job? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, there's talent on this team, and Douglas did a nice job assembling some of that talent, but he was 30-64, and this article just reads like, let me try and make excuses why we didn't win. It's like, you didn't win because you weren't good enough, ultimately. You missed on too many big-time moves.
Oh, I mean, and the biggest thing is, like I said, I can't emphasize this enough, is it's his biggest downfall, and I will be open about it. It's the wait and see approach. Like, he was proactive in making trades at the wrong time. I will always give him respect for the Jamal Adams trade, but it always felt like he wanted to make a trade, or he wanted to address a problem well after the fact, after it became a problem. The analytics side on it, like, we went into 2021 without a veteran quarterback until week 4, when he brought in Joe Flacco. Then we let Joe Flacco walk in 2022. Well, guess what? We ended up trading a pick for him. Was it from the Eagles? We ended up sending like a 4th-round draft pick, and we brought him back. Like, that was insane to me. Like, why didn't you bring him back to begin with? Like, it's the decision-making that went into that, and to the offensive line as well, was just completely insane. It felt like he spent more time bargain binning these players than he did anything. It was like he was playing Moneyball. It was like watching literally the Oakland A's of the NFL. He wanted to play Moneyball, and he bargain bin these players, and it really came back and bit us in the rear.
Look, at the end of the day, Mike, great call. You make some great points. They gotta get these hires right. Call back more though, Mike. I like it. Chat seems to like the call there from Mike. Mike Turtle E, baby. Good call, Mike. Easton says, Mike with some good takes, a nice change of pace. I agree. All right. We're 2.5 hours in here. All right. So we got to make these last couple calls quick. Let's say hello to James B. What's up, James?
Hey, Jake. Yeah, good call overall. Yeah, I mean, it's just rumors that the news must be slow, because how could you say you have a story based on somebody who's close to somebody speculating on something?
Oh, that was
and if they're speculating,
Garrett Wilson. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's so. Yeah. Anyway, news is slow, and people like to pick on the Jets a little bit, but that's all right. We're used to it by now. Hey, I'm going to Australia in 2 days.
Are you flying right now?
Yeah.
I love it. Are you hanging out with Craig in Australia? What brings you to Aussie land?
Oh, so actually, I'm flying home so that I can fly to Australia. I'm flying home from work. I work in right now I'm working in Detroit for this week. Flying home, and then I'm going to go with my wife on a 2-week cruise around Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, maybe I'll run into the Australian Jets fan. You never know.
I love it. That's awesome, man.
He inspired me to call in. All right, on. Well, thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me on.
That's all you had to say? I love it, James. I appreciate you. James just wanted to let us know he's going to Australia. Let's say hello to Jay Quest. He's up next. Hello, Jay Quest.
Hey, Jake. I'm driving, so if it's choppy, just cut me off, all right?
You got it. What do you got for us?
I'm just mentally spent from like all these stories that are coming out. I know it's great for your content, and I respect it.
It's really not though. Like I don't care. Like we'll find things to talk about on this channel. You're not gonna find someone that went live every single day as much as I was going live in the middle of the summer when there was nothing in July, on July 5th doing a live show. You know what I mean? Like I'll find things to talk about. I'm sick and tired of the same story that's basically being regurgitated 3 separate times from the same outlet.
Yeah, and then it's like they always backtrack like months later on the stories. It's very
Also, here's another thing, right? So they wrote this initial hit piece on Joe Douglas right after he got fired, right? The Madden stuff wasn't available information. Then they like deliberately like save bits and pieces so they could have like another gotcha headline. Like you either have the info or you don't. Why didn't the Madden nonsense come out with the first article?
Yeah, that's craziness.
It's not true either. If it's true, why'd they sign John Simpson? Because the article states that we brought up Simpson's Madden rating. Well, they still signed him. So we're only going to mention that because it was a good signing. How about the other signings that Joe Douglas made that were terrible signings? We don't bring that up in the article because it doesn't fit the narrative.
The one thing I got to say with Woody, I really do feel like he derailed the season, firing Saleh. 2-3, going into playing for first place. If you somehow win that game with Saleh, momentum's are real things in sports. If you ever coached or played, it's a real thing. Like, if you win that game, who knows what happens? The season's different. The games are going to be played out totally different. It's not the games aren't going to be exactly the same. You're talking about coming off a win, being in first place, next day getting Devontae. The season would have been totally different. And, I will hope he just keeps his shit out of our business. Like, you're the owner, pay the players, don't get involved in the personnel stuff. It's very frustrating. Also, Jake, I got to go to my son's school, but listen, tomatoes are on sale at ShopRite, 29 cents a pound. Pick them up, guys. Merry Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Jake West checking in. Love it. What do we got here? Ladies and gentlemen, we got some heavy hitters on the line to close us out today. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, we say hello to a guy who needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway.
It's time for another V-Man call. Hopefully he no sleeping. Adios mio.
Hey, Jake, what's up?
V-Man, you tell me.
Nothing. On this stuff with Joe Douglas and all this talk from this article. Oh, crap. Look, end of the day, as we know the famous sign on Harry Truman's desk, the buck stops here. Like, you can't make all the excuses for all these problems. Look, you're the GM. It's your job to build the roster. So end of the day, and look, from previous GM reports, as you said, with Tannenbaum, Rex, everybody's saying that Woody never meddled with them before. So ultimately, it falls on you to construct this roster and put it in the best position to win. So when the problems arise, it's on you, not anyone else.
I mean, they got to win. They got to win, V-Man. They got to win. I'm tired of it. This story means nothing in 2 months when they hopefully have a GM and a coach employed.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
What are we making today? Eggnog?
No, this is the coquito. This is left versus the coquito. So I just finished whipping I just finished blending the cream of coconut. Now I'm just gonna mix this up so it's a little, with a batch of with a can of condensed milk, so that it's a little easier to pour.
Ladies and gentlemen, you asked for it. You're gonna get it. It's another rendition of Cooking with V-Man.
How does it make? Gonna blend that.
Start dancing, V-Man.
What?
Start dancing.
I can't. I'm busy pouring this.
Let's go, dance.
I can't. It's heavy. I'm gonna drop this like that. We got that. We have the last 2 cans of condensed milk. That. So you can see. Yeah, you can see that. Now we're gonna add a dash of
He stinks. He stinks. No. It looks wonderful. Stop it.
sprinkle in some cinnamon. Just a dash of nutmeg.
Is that called nutmeg?
Yeah, you put nutmeg in here.
I see.
And so now we just get a spoon and let's just mix this up. I'll just get a blender instead. A blender will be easier. Get a hand mixer.
V-Man, as much as I would love to see this through, I unfortunately am up against it, so farewell.
That's the end of that V-Man call. Now he can go back to sleeping.
All right. We got V-Man cooking. There's nothing like it. We also got 5 more memberships, 5 more raffle tickets for our guy Mimosa. Ladies and gentlemen, 5-spot channel memberships. Mimosa, you are a legend.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
All right, here we go. These are from Mimosa, so if you hear your name called, you thank him. SONY17, John J, South Philly, Ruben Rivera, and Greg, all receiving channel memberships. Welcome. I would argue we might have saved the best for last on a historic Jake Asman show, reacting to the Athletic story, hit piece, however you want to call it, and the Aaron Rodgers comments from yesterday that he's open to a pay cut and would mentor the hell out of any young quarterback. Ladies and gentlemen, we say hello to a guy that we respect, a guy that we love, and quite frankly, he's a guy some of us might fear.
It's G-Fan. Guess what? I'm still looking for a job, bitches. It's G-Fan. I'm just going to rub my hands together all day. It's G-Fan. There's a whole lot of DNA on this couch. Let's hear it for G-Fan. Look, it's my dead neighbor that I didn't kill.
Gator, you've always been a smile to my face, man.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to be, the plans for going to Chicago for Christmas fell out. His kids were sick, and since I get sick easily, I'm just going to stay home alone for Christmas.
You're sick again?
No, my friend's kids got sick.
Oh, so you're going to be home for Christmas?
Alone, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Cheats fan. I might do a show on Christmas just for you, so you and I can hang out.
I'll jump on, most definitely.
All right. I'm definitely doing a show on Christmas then. Actually, you know what? I lied. I am doing a show. You got to call my radio show. I'm doing our morning show from 8 to 11:30. Then I'm going to the Knicks game. But call into the radio show. I'd love for the ESPN New York audience to get the Cheats fan experience. That'd be great.
I will definitely try. But ever since I went out and bought myself a Nintendo Switch, I'm staying up to 3 a.m. playing different games. Like last night, I was grinding. I was replaying South Park: Stick of Truth, grinding it all night, beat it in one sitting. But it's good to know that Aaron Rodgers is going to mentor someone. It's not going to be the same Green Bay Packers situation.
I mean, he mentored Jordan Love too. Aaron's always done the right thing in that.
Yeah, he did. He mentored him, but deep down, he wanted to have something better than Love. But Love's a good player, as now as we see. But I'm if you do draft someone, I'm thinking you guys are going to draft a QB in the late rounds or second or third round. But let's just be honest. I think it's going to be a 4th round QB that you guys draft, Jake, because you got 3 things that you need to fix up before getting a QB.
What's that?
O-line, for sure, to make that stronger. D-line, since Joe Douglas pissed that away. And you got players coming up on their final year to do deals, so you can just put a plug-and-play player.
Hold on one second, Cheats fan. We have to address a comment that has just come through the pipeline here that needs immediate attention. Ladies and gentlemen, Story Lynn, he writes in, please, football gods, no Vrabel, no expatriates, amen. Ladies and gentlemen, Story Lynn, clearly a graduate from Ted U. Story Lynn, thank you for the $2. Unfortunately, your day is done.
Now look what you've done. No more protection
from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
Had to be done. About the Vrabel thing. I'm like, I understand people might be pissed for the expatriate, but I'm like, sorry for the language, guys. If the Falcons didn't fuck up and fuck themselves, they would have had a Super Bowl. Vrabel? Oh, I believe Vrabel's a GM, correct?
No, you're confusing everyone
My
involved
bad.
in this.
My
Thomas
bad.
Dimitroff was the GM.
Okay, my bad.
He interviewed for the job. He would have a Super Bowl if the Falcons didn't.
This is what you
choke.
get when you get like 7 hours of sleep and 12 hours of game playing video games, folks.
That's all right.
Oh, but I'm like, my bad. But like, I honestly think bringing in that GM might be really good. It's just the fact that like.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it. Nate, also from the school of Ted, Chiefs fan. I had to take action.
No, it's fine. It's your show. You got to lay down the law. You got to judge.
No, we've been laying down the law a lot around these parts.
You're, as they say, you're to judge the jury and the execution.
That's right.
But I'm hoping, like, if you guys bring him in, you might have luck because, like, he's got. And the thing is, you guys could probably make the playoffs the first season if you make him in, maybe the second. But just so many holes that Joe Douglas left in this thing. He did some good things and a lot of bad. There's so many holes that Joe Douglas left in your foundation of your team that it might maybe take 2 or 3 years to fill the void. And maybe it's a wild card playoff for the first 2 years or a wild card playoffs twice in 3 years and then winning the division. But you guys can slow roll it. I believe you guys can slow roll into winning the division, and I can't stand the Buffalo Bills. So anything that makes Bills fans mad and Fins fans mad and Patriots fans mad. But I would love to see the Jet Green division title for y'all. I was hoping for that for the past 2 years. I'm like, it would look real good if they do it like in a style of when they won the Super Bowl, that type of thing.
Chiefs fan, let me ask you some serious questions. What's the latest with your pending back surgery?
That will be actually. I am putting that off until. Why May.
Didn't you lead with that? It's not till May now.
Whoa, I meant to lead with that, but I'm putting that off until May because if I put it off until May, I could cover the rest. My grandparents have really good insurance. They've been investing in real good money. They told me if I ever get injured, they'll take care of it. But they also wanted me to save up at least $4,000 or $5,000 to put towards like my rehab. So out of that trust fund, they're gonna let me grab a few of that, and then working, I'll grab the rest. And what I'll probably do is not be on the show maybe that much. It's going to be late May, so I won't be on the show as much as June, but I'll definitely be in the show during July because excuse me there. I'll try to be on the show during July because like who wants to be like other than working, which you have to do, who wants to be out in that heat?
Look, I'll tell you what. We need you, Chiefs fan. All right, we need you.
I know. I was gonna be on here earlier, but I'm like since I'm pre-diabetic, I'm like my blood sugar is running low, so I walked over to.
What are you doing for Christmas now? We know you're gonna be home. Like, what's the food spread gonna be looking like in the Chiefs fan household?
1 second, let me grab it.
Okay.
Fill line.
B-man.
There we go. That's a good one.
B-man.
I bought like
Alright.
4 of these when they were $2.50 a piece, so I'm gonna have one of these.
Okay, hold on, hold it up to the camera. Let's go in
I'm
depth
gonna- I
here.
bought these when they were $2.50 a piece.
Nice little ham
They're
steak.
marked.
All right.
The price isn't correct, but I'm gonna have one of these. I bought a small bag of red potatoes so I can make homemade mashed potatoes.
Very nice.
Corn, green beans, carrots, just a can of mixed vegetables, and I'm gonna add fresh green beans to that. And then I'm just gonna make gravy the way that I always know how to do it.
What about dessert?
Dessert, I'm just gonna buy one of those. I'm just gonna buy one of those square carrot cakes from
Hell
Walmart
yeah.
for $3.
Hey, Chiefs fan, do you have a Venmo?
I do not. I do not have any of that PayPal.
Do you have a
stuff
Zelle?
I do not. But I'm like,
How do I send you? How do I send you some money? I want to send you some money so I can get your dessert comped.
Oh no, it's fine.
No, come on. I feel bad. You got to do Christmas by yourself. That's not fun.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna open my PayPal back up in February. The reason why I haven't had a PayPal in so long is PayPal paused my account for the longest time because someone leaked my PayPal email and I got like sent 100 money requests within an hour. So I had to cancel that, and now I have to make a new PayPal.
What if I don't know if it will make it in time? What if I send you a check? Would that work?
Oh, it's fine. I'll tell you what, Jake. Save up for my birthday.
Right here. All right. You name the price. How much is dessert in Kansas City these days?
Oh, I'm in Southern Illinois, but I'm like
Illinois.
I'll save up for my birthday. I'll take your offer when I get my PayPal account in January.
All right, you got a deal.
Because PayPal told me not to have an account for a year until this all blows over, and it happened January the 20th last year. So once that, I'll give you my information.
All right, I look forward to it.
That plus not having PayPal for a year means I don't go out and be like, oh, like let me go buy these cards I don't really need. Like when I had that PayPal, I was blowing through at least $100 a month on the card game. And now that I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore and Magic, the Gathering, like my grandparents have wired me some stuff to buy myself for Christmas. They wired me 2K. Went out, spent $800 on a bunch of Switch games and stuff. Spent another $800 on Magic the Gathering. And for that last $400, my rent is now $400, by the way. I'm just lucky in this situation. I gave my landlord my January rent. So I got all those games, got all those cards. And like the food situation, I never have an issue on because there's like 4 or 5 butcheries. 1 5 minutes from me, 1 30 minutes from me, and 2 1 hour from me. But like the butchery I usually go to is the Red Bud, Illinois butchery because the people know me there, and I get good deals and I buy in bulk. And as soon as I get myself a meat freezer, I'm buying like a full cow's worth of meat. But right now I don't have room for the meat freezer, so I'm just waiting on where I can put it at.
Well, Chiefs fan, I feel like we covered a lot. I look forward to hearing how your Christmas goes. Keep us posted on everything, all right?
I will. Thank you.
It's Chiefs fan.
Guess what? I'm still looking for a job, bitches.
It's Chiefs fan.
I'm just going to rub my hands together all day.
It's Chiefs fan.
There's a whole lot of DNA on this couch.
Let's hear it for Chiefs fan.
Look, it's my dead neighbor that I didn't kill.
Women. Hey, Jake, just real quick. Once again, the people who are leading the lynching of me being this racist now, I don't really appreciate that. I'm not a racist.
Probably not the best choice of words there, using lynching, Rob.
Lynching? Okay. Well, I don't know what you want to call it then, Jake, because St. Nick is saying a permanent ban. Here I am looking out for Bobby. Yeah, I was yelling. Bobby, I'm sorry if I yelled so hard. To me, you're like a little brother, and I don't want bad people like Alan taking advantage of you. And that's the reason why I yelled. I have all good intentions for Bobby, so please. My intent was not to bully Bobby, but to just kind of like shake him and say, hey, Bobby, look out, because Alan is saying some really bad things about other people. That was my intent. And as far as Jaden, again, I go on the record again for apologizing, Jaden. What I said was in fun. It was not made as a racial slur in any way. Jay Graves, too, is burying me, and Addison and Nick, who I'm really surprised about. But, like, again, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it with any of those intent at all. This is a show here. We're all Jet fans. We're trying to pass the time a little bit. A lot of it's in fun. But I don't know. I guess Nick wants to ban me for life here. So what I did was unforgivable. I guess he never did a bad thing in his life. So I guess it's all on me, big bad Rob. But again, my apologies extended again to Jaden. Jaden, it was not that intent. Bobby, I am sorry that I yelled at you, but I'm not sorry that the words that I chose for you. I think you got to be very careful who's your real friends. And you know what? Alan is not your real friend. I'm sorry. He's not. And that's about it. You know, I don't want people to think the wrong thing about me, but they can say whatever they want on the chat. Yeah, it's bothersome, but I'm trying to man up and come on the chat. You know, if I was this bad person, I don't think I would come right on the chat and answer questions. Okay, doing myself no favors. Okay, 25. Then what do you do, 25? Just stay in a little corner? No, I'm not a racist. Far from it. Thank you, Matthias. I appreciate that. You're a good dude. I mean, you know, that's all I can do. Jay Graves, if you want to come on and discuss it with me. Because I don't know, you seem to have the biggest beef with me. And I don't understand. Like, you and I met and we hung out for a game together and we got along really, really well. So I don't know why you're like leading this charge here for me. You know, they don't want me to use the other word as Nick started, but I don't understand your problem, Jay Graves. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised at you. You don't strike me as that type of person who doesn't accept when somebody apologizes. Okay, 3 siblings, you keep on putting the tomatoes. You can make some sauce with it. It makes good sauce, tomatoes. Italian. I'm not Sicilian. I'm Napolitan. And my mom's a little bit Calabrese. Yeah, I am sincere because I don't want people to think that. I'm not a racist, far from it. That's BS. I said a stupid thing, but again, it's caught up in the moment of the show's entertainment and stuff. This is not 100% that we mean these things. If it was true, then Alan, probably somebody would have took him out by now. Come on. All this is done for entertainment purposes. Nobody means half the things they say on the show. Thank you, South Philly. I appreciate it. I guess you missed a lot according to the chat, but I guess you have to read the chat. Of course I man up, Jay Quest. You know, you and I had a beef once upon a time. I saw you in the parking lot over there and we hugged it out. Remember? I don't take things that far. I don't. Thank you. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, we got more color. Please. Okay. What else? Any questions anybody wants to answer me? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to man up. I said something that was stupid. I went on, and then I also went on. I spoke to Addison. Addison said, everything's cool. And then he's also leading the parade and like destroying me on the chat. You know, people are trying to make this separate right here, Team Jaden, Team Jaden. There's nothing to do with that. We're all brothers and sisters and stuff rooting for the same, unfortunately right now, lousy team. So, you know what? People do things for a sense of entertainment and stuff. Sometimes maybe you crossed the line a little bit. I manned up. I apologized, and Nick wants to ban me for life. Okay, Nick. What can I tell you? Okay, Jay Graves. How many dumb things did I say? Did I say so many dumb things? I'm sure you said a million dumb things in your lifetime. So you need to look in the mirror too, Jay Graves, because I'm like really disappointed in you. Okay, Nate. I don't want to be divided in this chat. We're supposed to be unified, rooting for the Jets. Yeah, I shouldn't have scolded him, Dave, but I just don't want him to go into the clutches of Allen, because Bobby has a good heart, and sometimes Bobby, unfortunately, listens to people who give him money donations, and that's not the right way. There's things bigger than money in life. No, it's not softer than sauce. Come on, stop that. Thank you, nothing but Nets. I appreciate that. Okay. No, I did. I reviewed the tape and I said that I apologized for what I said. It was a dumb thing to say, but I did not mean it in any racist slur or anything. I didn't mean it that way. I truly didn't. I was trying to be funny, and it was a slip of stupid words. And I manned up. I came on. I apologized, and I noticed that Addison also had a beef with me. So I went on to Bobby's show, and I said to Addison, and I explained to Addison what was going on, that Jaden sometimes takes the little pot shots at me, and I got annoyed. And then Addison said, no, it's cool. Everything's cool. And now all these guys are leading the parade. Now it's Jay Graves. It's Addison. And to my shock, Nick, I'm really surprised and disappointed at Nick.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans of all ages, welcome to the event of the year, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Asmaniac Rumble.
Okay. Was somebody supposed to come on? Okay. Yes, I guess it is a rumble between me and the chat. Again, not my intent. Okay, I'm making it worse. People said I'm making it worse. So then maybe I'll just say goodbye, I guess. I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I meant it in a loving way to Bobby. Anyone who thinks otherwise, they don't know me, and that's too bad. Yeah, okay, thanks, Antonio. I appreciate those kind words. See, people get away with saying that to me. I don't see anybody saying, oh, well, you just crossed the line to Rob. But, it's two-faced. People are two-faced. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. I mean, that's all I can do. Yeah, Dave. Dave, I was just protecting Bobby because, Alan is a snake. And I didn't want him to take, over Bobby and corrupt Bobby's poor mind, And, him giving Bobby money, Bobby's going to be happy and protect him and think whatever he says, he's a good guy because he dangles money. Life is not all about money. Life's about friendship and people who watch your back. I yelled at Bobby like an older brother saying, Bobby, look out, and that's the way I meant it. I'm not going to get into personal dating anymore. A lot of people are advising me not to say that stuff anymore. So, okay. I mean, okay. You can say whatever you want. Okay. I got you, buddy. I mean, I hear you. I probably would think the same way for my daughters. I have 3 daughters. So you're right. They'll need to chill out. It's holiday season. Each other. Exactly, big fellow. Exactly. You're 100% right, my friend. And I don't like cannolis. I'd rather probably do like a little. I like Napoleon is better. If I don't eat a lot of desserts, but I'm not a cannoli fan, to be honest with you. But just to set the record straight. Is Neil on the dating advisory committee? Neil is a good dude. You guys have been beating up on Neil, but lately, you know what? Neil's been 100% right. I mean, it looks like Aaron Rodgers is probably going to come back. Nick Faria kind of confirmed it today. You heard it, saying that we have no better option, and he's already said that he would take it.
I think that guy I know, right?
He's already said he would take a pay cut and mentor the next QB. So you know what? Unless you guys want to see shitty quarterback play, because what's out there is pretty crappy. I think you guys are going to be happy if Vrabel takes over and Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback next year. We'll be competitive. Yeah. Now, free of cost, Nate. Free of cost.
What a show, folks. Rob, there you go. He addressed it, folks. The chat can decide how they feel about it. All right, I got to run. I extended the show way longer than I thought I was going to be able to do. Thank you all. If I do a second stream today, it will not be till a little later than normal, as I got a busy day ahead. So that's why the show is 3 hours. Appreciate you watching. Hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you to everyone who called. Thank you to Nick Faria, who joined us for the first 45 minutes of the show. If you want more on the athletic story, make sure you watch back this show if you tuned in late. I know the title says we talked Rodgers and being a mentor, but we covered all of it and much more. Thank you again to everyone who tuned in. Appreciate everyone's support as always. JETS, 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 Jets.
I went to the Jet Golf Classic Monday. We all go to the locker room and everybody's showering. There's a line of guys. And who gets behind me on the line but Vinny Testaverde?
Oh, God.
And I said, boy, Vinny, we could have used you last year. You know, Vinny, winning it in New York, is there anything like it? He goes, absolutely not. I go, are you looking for big things this year? He goes, yes. I go, how do you think Aaron's going to react coming off the Achilles? He did say that he's going to have some rust. He goes, look, it's going to be a little difficult in the beginning. They should rely heavily on the run the first couple of games. BJF is gone.
He was on for the first hour. Now, Neil, the AI summary of the chat is right now. I want to read it to you for you to get you to comment. Viewers in the chat, you're getting just so you know, you're getting destroyed in the chat right now.
Oh, my yeah, because I got no shirt on. I'm
back-to-back callers with no shirts on.
That's
yes.
it. Yeah, rip me, bro. I don't give a shit.
I'm not. I'm just reading the comments.
No, it's fine. I don't give a shit. But I can't see it, so I'll go back and look at it. Picture your wives under me, bro. Anyway.
Steve M, for your comments. I'm I can't, man. I need a 20. I'm taking 20.
Let's talk about buttered sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face. What about buttered sausage?
Only on this show, dude. Only on this show.
It's not my jam. I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips.
Joe Douglas going to get a lot of credit. And, yeah, I read Rick's comment. I support and honor a big fella.
Oh, come on.
We're live on Broadway right now. Shirtless, baby. Shout out to the chat.
Nate, thank you very much. All right. The show's getting weird.
I don't know what is going on today. I was watching the show on delay, and then I popped in, and everyone's topless.
From Leany and NC, Jake, I'm going braless. Does that count? For the first time ever, I have to play this for a female listener.
Calm your freaky down.
And I just saw a big fella's tweet. So I'm 5'11", 180 pounds, and I wear a large. And you're telling me he's got me by 100 pounds, and he only wears an extra large?
Gary, what do you care about what the fuck I'm wearing, bro?
I'm gonna look. I'm a man of logic and reason. I'm 5'11", 180. I wear a large. You're 6'5".
Why does this guy care about what I'm wearing? It makes no sense. Why do you care? Why
You
do
don't
you
watch
care?
Curb Your Enthusiasm and someone says something like suspicious to Larry to kind of give him that look like, okay.
How is this suspicious, bro? What are you talking
about? 280. That's a big fella.
Dude, if I wore a 2X, it would be baggy on me because my body is different. Okay, not everybody's built the same.
I understand, but if you're 6'4", 280, that ain't all in your legs, bro. 6'4", 280 is a big boy.
I don't know why you give a shit what I look like. You got me a little upset right now, man.
I didn't mean to get you upset, big fella.
Gary, why do you make fun of Big Fella and his shirt? Maybe you're a weird person, a weird guy. A wiggle, beagle, beagle, deagle, deagle, beagle, deagle, deagle.
I've extended the show briefly. Jimbo, I wanted to acknowledge your $20 super chat. Here's to all you do, Jake. Shout out to you for dealing with all of us. Not only is Christmas coming up, but of course my sister's 21st today and my birthday next Thursday. Why are we fighting amongst ourselves? If you know, you know. Hey, happy birthday to your sister. Happy birthday to you next week, Jimbo. And very nice of you to give me the super chat here at the buzzer. So I definitely wanted to acknowledge that one. Thank you all for your support. R.I.P. Keith Best.
Look, I'm going to turn around.
Keith mooning us. There we go.
No. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I want to apologize for yesterday. I was trying to show off the name on my jersey, but my desk chair doesn't swivel. So I got up and I showed off my butt.